Hey, welcome to Two-Way Brotherhood.
Podcast. I couldn't see it, so I was hoping one of you guys were
Yeah.
seeing the intro, even though I set it off. All right, everybody. Welcome today. Today we have Brandon Alvarez. He's a Grandmaster. Brandon, introduce yourself, sir.
Glad to be here. Appreciate you guys having me. I am Brandon Alvarez. I am a three-division USPSA Grandmaster and the owner of Project Broken Arrow, a training company based out of South Florida. I travel all over the country and teach performance pistol and carbine, but mostly pistol to those seeking to progress. So appreciate you guys having me again. And starting to glitch again. Rumble likes to mess with me here. I'll just roll with it.
Yeah, let's just. Um, if it starts getting like real bad, we'll let you know. Like, hey, you're stuck, or it's Rumble, dude. It's
As
getting
long as
better.
you guys can hear me, I'll roll with it.
It's getting better, yeah, but it's the only place like YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yep.
Rumble, you can say whatever you want. So
Challenge accepted.
yeah,
We've tried it.
yeah, we've tried it.
YouTube is real touchy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When we first started, we got banned on YouTube like 1,000 times.
I believe it.
That's why
All
we
of them.
came on Rumble.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Instagram's got me flagged perpetually. They just flag every post I make. So
Yeah. Well, so that used to happen to us. And is your account on Instagram a business account?
so I have one of each because they deleted my original business account.
Okay.
I just started doing everything on the personal. Recently remade the business account. Both of them are flagged. Can't be shown to non-followers. They flag every other post. Like it's pretty bad.
That used to happen to us all the time until Mark Zuckerberg said he was gonna loosen up.
You know, I heard them say it. I haven't seen it on my end.
Has it happened to you?
No. I paid the blue check ransom the other day to see if I could get a real customer service rep, and I spoke to someone that was just as useless as the bot. So,
How many followers do you have on Instagram?
not many, like 16, 1700.
Okay. So we have like 100 some, so they're like, nobody's gonna see this crap anyways. Let's just let them through. See what
Yeah, I mean, the business account they took down, that started from scratch, so it's like a couple hundred.
Yeah, man. Well, I was hoping TikTok was gonna get better, but like, so your trailer today that I made that I posted on Instagram has got 100 something, and it's still going up. On TikTok, it has 24.
You're definitely shadow banned.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
at least Instagram has the nerve to tell you your account's restricted. TikTok just shadow banned you.
Yeah. Well, you just know silently because it's at the bottom and it's like 14.
I set the age restriction to 18 and up, thinking that would help. No, didn't do anything.
No.
Yeah. The post for the trailer that I posted to X, it's got 12 views so far. So,
well, on X they don't push like video content. They want you to talk shit on there.
Oh right.
Yeah, or make like threads of shit.
It's all about the comments and the retweets, huh?
Yeah. I mean, all of them work differently. So like on Instagram now they're pushing for like more videos and stuff like that. But
as long as it's not gun related.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Or how to be a man, or telling people they're fat.
Mm-hmm. Being straight, being white.
Yeah.
I hate
speaking out against the COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
I hate being straight, white, and speaking out against the COVID vaccine. I'm so oppressed.
I got all my shots though, YouTube, and I get boosted every 3 months just in case.
Yeah, there you go.
You get that shot.
I get boosted every 2 weeks. You need to step up the game, man.
Oh man.
At this point, I'm 90% booster.
There you go.
What was that shot that was making frogs gay?
Yeah, I want that one.
It wasn't a shot. It's
I already got it. It doesn't work.
Glyphosate. It's a pesticide. It's called glyphosate.
That's weed killer.
We
Yeah, it's they spray it on everything in America,
yeah.
and this is the only place that is allowed to use it. RFK is talking about banning it, so it's basically Roundup.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
Don't that shit give you
I love
cancer?
Roundup.
yeah, and they put it on our food. Yeah, they'll be all right.
I was like, I
Just
put it in
don't
my
pick it.
coffee.
So it literally came out and said that the people that were picking, you know what I mean, the Mexicans that were picking the stuff out of the ground were getting cancer in their hands. So they were
Yeah.
like, hey, like maybe it's the Roundup. Took like 15 years. They finally
Just
said
maybe.
yes.
What
Yeah,
if they take a piss without washing their hands?
Was
Man,
it
that's
was it like
exactly.
was it like the gay cancer?
No. It was just heterosexual cancer.
heterosexual.
Damn, boring old straight cancer.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that goes over too
Cis,
easy in Mexico.
cisgendered cancer.
Whack. No, but
Damn.
yeah, so they finally admitted it, but they're still spraying it on everything. So
Mm,
or I think they have like 30 years to stop using it from the original
30 years.
cause.
Oh,
Yeah,
only 30 years. So we'll be all right.
yeah. The same thing with aspartame, like in the diet
Yeah.
sodas, causes cancer. They finally proved it. People have been saying it for like the past 15 years, but they finally, but they have like 10 years to stop using it. So it's like another 10 years of cancer.
Yeah, it gave lab mice cancer and shit, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, it's so crazy how stupid people are. We were actually just talking about it in our Riverside chat before you had popped on to Rumble about RFK wanting to ban like the red dye 40 and all
Yeah.
that stuff, and now people are actually chugging red dye 40.
That's just
So
called natural selection. You know what? Let it happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's just like like it's been proven that it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible for you, and let's just go and get a gallon of it and chug it. You know.
Maybe
I'm
they
all
might
about it. It's
start
like the Tide
drinking
Pod
bleach,
Challenge. It weeds out the weak,
right?
Weeds out the dumb.
Yeah.
It's funny that people like argue like, oh, it's safe and ingestible and whatnot, but every other Western country has it banned for 10 plus years. So
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've been using this app. It's called Yuka, Yuka.
yeah, I heard about
Um
that.
yeah, and every time I do something like every time like I get something like a drink, I scan the barcode
Mm.
and it tells me all the harmful stuff that's in it, and it's honest.
Mm-hmm.
I have a child, and we actually scanned her baby wipes. We were getting the Kirkland brand baby wipes.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know, but Kirkland brand baby wipes have a additive in it that is cancerous. And
I don't doubt it.
and I'm just sitting there like, dude, we've been using these baby wipes since she was a newborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and this was like about a year and a half we had found this out, and like we immediately switched over.
Yep.
And yeah, so everything we do, like we found out that the puffs, like little Cheeto things that we were getting her were terrible for her.
Oh yeah.
And it's just
Yeah,
like
dude.
it's crazy the amount of like bullshit they put in even like children's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and how prevalent it is, and it's crazy too, because like every Johnson and Johnson product has a class action lawsuit against it, and it's still on the shelves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the
Like
powder,
the baby powder causing ovarian cancer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because they
Yep.
say talcum powder is
Sunscreen, lotion, powder, all of it.
usually found with asbestos. Is usually together when they find it in the ground and shit. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they
they
have to
was hiding that
separate it.
shit for years.
I might need to get checked out because I was using that Johnson and Johnson baby powder when I used to work
You
offshore.
don't have ovaries, dude.
No, but I was putting on my nuts like constantly.
You still don't have ovaries, bro.
But he got his bussy.
Yeah, I got
It
my
sounds like a
pussy.
future bee problem,
Yeah. I was using that shit like every day during the summer working offshore, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, just straight
All
on my
right.
nuts.
Well, at least you know you can make kids, so
Right?
There you
You're good.
right,
You're good.
You already got yours out, so
right,
if you're infertile now, it doesn't matter.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly,
It's a free vasectomy.
Yeah,
Silver
basically,
linings.
without
I
any
might have to.
pain.
I might have to start using it again.
Oh
I was
man.
gonna say raw is better.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't go get a vasectomy for it, but
All right.
It,
Yep.
it's yeah, it's an experience. Let's just say that much.
yeah, it's not an
Having a kid is the
experience I
best
want
birth
to
control
try.
because you don't want to do it again.
Demetri said the pull out method don't work.
Not when you get used to leaving it in.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Right
That
now,
goes out
addictive.
the window. You're like,
It's
what?
addictive, Demetri.
yeah,
Oh
right
yeah.
now, me and my wife are actually trying for our second, so it's just
That's
like,
bold of you.
Mhm.
yeah.
Better man than I.
So, but I know after we're done trying for our second, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna want another one.
Sometimes I think I want another, and then I like try to put my 3-year-old in the car and go to the store. I'm like, you know what? Never mind. It's not worth it.
Sometimes I want another, and then my almost 3-year-old punches me in the face and laughs, and
Start
I'm like,
rethinking some life choices there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, dude. My youngest, he's a violent little dude, man.
oh
He's just
yeah,
like
Yep.
he gets mad and he just smacks the crap out of you.
Just no mercy. Kids are
The,
ruthless.
the other day, my dad was making fun of him because he was like getting upset. He was going like, "Eh," and my dad was mocking him, and he had a stick in his hand. He was like, "Whack!" I'm laughing across the yard. My dad's like, "No hitting," and then does it again, and he just whack.
It's cute when they're little, and they keep doing it when they grow up. I'm like, oh, you know what? I should probably tell her
Yeah,
no now.
yeah. My
nah,
my
I'll just whip
daughter
his ass.
my daughter growls and like and barks at you, and she'll actually like roar, like she tries to scare you. And it's the cutest. Like she's so adorable when she does it, but she gets so upset if you don't get scared.
All
So
right.
it's like I'm a grown ass man, and I'm like running away from an
Is it,
almost 3-year-old because I don't want to hurt her feelings.
is it
There you
you
go.
adorable when
know?
you get hit in your face?
The best is like
Yeah.
every 30 seconds, like, Daddy, look at this. Daddy, look at this. And you look over, and it's like they're throwing up gang signs or something. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like,
Look what I
why do
learned.
I have to look at that every 30 seconds?
Yeah, my daughter's really fascinated with like bugs right now, but like killing bugs. So it's
Uh-huh.
cool because it's like I have my own personal exterminator,
There you go.
and she just walks around with a fly swatter and just like terminates everything in sight. But it's
You gotta
like,
kill one thing every day to stay proficient. That's how
yeah,
it
but it's
goes.
like, God forbid you have a little piece of fuzz on you and you just get your ass beat. She'll walk up and just beat the shit out of you with the fly swatter.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's like, it's not a bug. Leave me alone.
Just looking for an excuse, right?
Yeah. One
That's-
time I was chilling on my phone and I had I work with grease like all the time. I do heavy equipment maintenance and everything and repair. And I had a little piece of like grease on my face, and I'm just
Oh
sitting there
no.
like chilling on my phone, and she just fly swatter a bug
Right to
and
the face.
just started whacking me right in the face with a fly swatter.
No mercy.
Yeah, I tell you, man, kids are crazy.
Yeah.
They're fun though when they want to be.
Yeah.
They're cute when they want to be. They're also terrible assholes when they want to be.
Yeah, they're cute when they're someone else's because you can hand them back.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I love my niece more.
Yeah.
My wife sent me this meme, and it said, "No one." He was like, "Sorry," it said, "Being an adult is sucks. No wonder my parents used to beat my ass." Then I started thinking, I'm like, mate, yeah,
You know what? You're onto something. Yeah.
Demetri making it suck even more.
And then in the comments, it was like, just imagine you had a hard day at work and you come home and you're starving, and they forgot the chicken in the freezer. Oh man.
Yeah, sometimes I think like, was I that bad? And I ask my parents about it. Like, oh yeah, it's just karma,
Yeah, yeah. My little one, that's mine right there. That's Every time I tell my parents like what he's doing, it's like, yep, that you're in trouble. He's gonna be just like you. I'm like,
Yeah, yep.
nice.
Yeah, that's
Like,
how
no,
my
I refuse to accept I was that bad.
yeah. No,
I
that's
was
how my
pretty bad.
daughter.
I was pretty bad, and I know it.
Yeah,
There's a lot of ass whoopings that I deserve.
yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
My mom always told me growing up about how I like to test the waters. And I see it with my daughter, you tell her like no, and she just starts like tiptoeing towards what she's not supposed to
Yep.
do. And my mom's like, "Yeah, that was my life until you were like 10 years old." Yeah.
Oh man. But Brandon, tell us something about you. What kind of training do you usually do when you travel across country?
So about 85% of what I do is performance pistol. So
Hmm.
whether it be competitors, military, law enforcement, it is geared towards applying fundamentals at speed with a pistol.
Cool.
The other 15% is typically, I will say like 10% of that is carbine, and then the last like 5% is like long range stuff. Um, I am on paper qualified to teach that, but I don't keep up with it. Like I'm not a PRS competitor, so like if someone's looking for an introductory long range class, I'm more than happy to teach you. If you're
Hmm.
looking for like anything beyond that, I would push you towards someone who competes in that discipline because it is a
Hmm.
perishable skill, and I don't keep up with it. So, um, but yeah, the bulk of what I do is pistol. So
Gotcha. Well, we've never had anybody that like shot long range. So give
it's a
us like
different
the
game for sure.
yeah, give us like a little taste of like what training would be like for long range shooting.
So we'll start with like a classroom portion, just go over like the foundational tasks, like zeroing concepts of external ballistics and stuff. What people generally get hung up on is they'll try to study up before they come to a class, and it always just backfires because they're trying to apply either mil math or MOA math to what we're about to do in a practical exercise, and
Hmm.
realistically, like you want the efficient way to do it, forget the math. It's good to know, don't get me wrong, but 99% of the time, you're just going to use your reticle as a ruler. It doesn't matter what the subtensions are in, whether it's mils or moe. You're just going to use those hash marks or those subtensions as a ruler and make second round impacts based off that. So people get really, really hung up on like the, 0.25 at 100 yards or 0.036 at 100 yards or 0.36 rather. So it's good to know, but realistically, like you're not using that very often. So if anyone's getting into long range, I would definitely just say take a step back, take a breath, and just fundamentals of marksmanship are far more important than understanding,
Math.
trying to do math. What's 4.5 MOA at 600 yards? Like, okay, man, like just look in your reticle.
Don't
But yeah, I mean,
overcomplicate, right?
people definitely come into long range much more very disillusioned to what it's actually going to be like compared to pistol. Like pistol, yeah, you kind of got an idea of what you're getting into. Long range, just like I tell them, everything you studied coming into this, just put it on the back burner. You're not going to use it here. So for the most part,
Yeah.
Okay.
So with pistol, what do you mainly focus on training with pistol? Are you focusing on like competition base or more like real world scenario type stuff?
so I tell everybody that the fundamentals don't change based on application, right? Like whether it's a gunfight, whether it's a competition, the concept is how fast can I apply acceptable hits on target as
Hmm.
fast as humanly possible. So fundamentals of speed is what it boils down to, regardless of the discipline. A lot of people like to, especially in like the tactical world, people try to justify their training or lack thereof with, oh, well, it's, I'm trained to shoot people, not paper. Like, come on, man, it's the same thing. Like, I'm trying to hit small spots as quickly as possible. So people get very, very dogmatic about a certain type of gun, a certain type of application, whatever, when realistically it just comes down to how fast can I make acceptable hits? How fast can I apply the appropriate level of visual acuity to the target difficulty? So our 2-day classes start from the ground up. It's typically the foundational skills, grip, sight picture, the draw, the reload, all the stuff that kind of comprises pistol shooting, and then we'll move into just refining those skills at speed, with vision, with transitions is really where you make your money in pistol shooting and any shooting. You can split real fast and it looks good on Instagram, but where you're shooting 15 splits at a target and then you take a second to transition between targets, like you're losing a lot of time. So I think people get very, very their priorities are misaligned typically when they come to classes. So, and they see very quickly once you put them on a stage or a course of fire that's scored with hit factor scoring, that they're not quite on par with where they need to be, and their priorities are probably need to be shifted.
Yep. Yeah. Last year, me and Rob went to this guy H that we met through the podcast. We went to he has a shooting range and he does like combat training. And before I took that class, I was like, I could handle myself if I had to. And then after that class, I was like, there's people like this dude out there. I need to do something more. Like,
the good news is most of the encounters you run into, people don't know what they're doing. So
yeah. That's what I mean. I don't want to be one of those people. I want to be even better than those people.
Absolutely. And I tell everybody, like, a high C class, low B class shooter in USPSA is leaps and bounds ahead of 99.9% of the gun owners in America or in the world. So if you can establish those hard skills and just get them at least to, that low B class level, like you're probably sitting pretty. Not saying like there's ever a good enough, because I don't believe in that. There's always room to improve, but like, if you're serious about being, a defensively minded person, someone who's charged with taking care of your family or yourself, I think that should be a goal for most people, is that B class level of proficiency. So
I was actually talking with someone the other day, and I was telling them about the podcast because I found out they were into guns, and I was, mentioning it to him, and I was telling him, we interview a lot of competition shooters, and he was like, "Oh, that stuff's a joke." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "That doesn't train you for real world scenarios." And I was like, "Okay, so what do you do to train for real world scenarios?" He's like, "I just go to the range and shoot at targets."
Right, stationary, static targets.
And I was like, that sounds like you're getting a whole lot of real world training.
Right.
And
I love that argument, man. People will be like, "Oh, well, real world people shoot back." Oh, okay, you're gonna go train that, man? Like, someone shoot back at you.
Basically, I found out within like 5 minutes that he doesn't have a concealed carry permit, but carries all the time, and he carries the ones you're not supposed to carry. Yeah.
The people that I see the most upset about competition shooting are people that have gone to one match, gotten their ass kicked by a 13-year-old girl or a dentist or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, my ego's hurt. This is stupid. This isn't real world, whatever." And they'll try to justify that loss. So
I haven't done a competition. I was supposed to do the one that we're going to tomorrow. I was supposed to be able to sign up, but I missed the sign up. But I honestly expect my first time I'm going to get beat by a 13-year-old girl.
Oh, dude, there's some fantastic junior shooters out there, and it is so humbling to get beat by them.
Well, I'm the type of person to where I could take that beating and like take it on the chin and help me to improve. I'm not going to get butthurt over the fact that someone has done something more than me and they are better than me at it.
Yeah.
And
see, that's the productive mentality. The common mentality is, "Oh, I'm a grown man who owns a gun. I should know what I'm doing." And people get butthurt. Dude,
I'll go up to the 13-year-old and ask him for advice.
Exactly.
That's if you are better than me and you can give me productive advice to make myself better, I will listen and I will take it. I don't care if you're 5 years old or 55 years old. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Yep.
I used to pay for my entire platoon's match fees for their first match, and they would, maybe a quarter of them would show up to their first match at all for fear of getting their egos hurt. And then the other of the 25% that showed up, maybe 5% came back for a second match because for that reason, they get beat by someone they think they should be able to, they should be above, quote unquote, and
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
they get their feelings deflated and never come back.
I mean, that's a skill you could use in like just being able to take advice from everyone and take it on the chin that someone might be better than you is a skill you could use in every day to day life. I have a
100%.
I have a coworker who's 55 years old, right? And I just turned 30, and he calls me for advice on jobs that he can't figure out. But he sits there and he listens to me because I know more than him. And I told him one day because he was telling me, he was like, so thankful that you know as much as you do. And I was like, listen, man, there's probably 1,000 things you could teach me. This is
Mm-hmm.
just one thing that I'm better at you than. And, it's just the fact that you're able to sit there and listen to me, being the fact I'm 20 something years younger than you, it says a lot about your character.
Yep.
And that's a true thing. You could take that anywhere. But
Absolutely.
when your ego gets in the way, you start to fail. You know,
And that's the mentality people need, is like use people as a resource. If they're a
Mm-hmm.
subject matter expert, like utilize them.
yeah,
Don't just, you know, cower in the corner because you feel like you should be on par with them. Like you don't know what you don't know. You have to learn at some point from someone. So
Mm-hmm.
utilize those people.
exactly.
Yeah, that's been the best part about starting this podcast is like talking to shooters like you, and all three of us have became better shooters.
Hmm.
And then Rob making fun of me all the time growing up.
That
That,
helps.
yeah, he's the one. Like the first time I ever went shooting, I went with Rob, and we shot his shotgun, and I fell in love. That first boom, I was like, yes, you know what I mean. But I was horrible, you know. And
Yep.
it's like talking, just like especially we trained with Josh Morgan. I don't know if you know who he is. He's
I'm not familiar now.
he's up here. I think he lives in Delaware if I'm not mistaken.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, I don't know, somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he's up here on the East Coast, and we actually like met up with him, and we actually went and trained, and it was the same scenarios as we're gonna do tomorrow. He actually had us moving because, like in Maryland, it's very hard to find a place where you could just do training like that. Like
Yeah.
you could get these competitions, but it's like, where am I going to train like that? And it's
Mm-hmm.
usually at like a fancy gun club where you got to pay like $200-300 a month.
Or own your own land.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the dream.
yeah. Dude, I hear my neighbors shooting all the time. I'm like, I need to find out like who does this. You know
Right.
what I
Go
mean?
knock on his door with a case of beer.
Hey, here's some beer. I have some good whiskey that I don't drink anymore. So I'm like, hey, here's some whiskey. Can I shoot?
Yeah. Beer and whiskey will make every friend you want.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's
Especially good
the
whiskey.
yeah, no, it's been really, really helpful with the podcast. Just talking like Demetri said to people, and Josh Morgan was great. Just learning
Yeah.
from him and being able to move. Because, like Demetri said, around here, the ranges we go to, the range that we actually go to doesn't even let you draw from the holster unless you take their $200 something class or whatever.
Yeah.
You can't even draw from the holster. You have to basically go from the ready position and just start shooting. And it's like that's not helping me at all.
Yeah.
So if
Most
I want
indoor
to do
ranges is hard to get any productive practice in. So
Yeah,
Mm,
so if I want to do any practice drawing, I have to do it at home. It's
mm-hmm.
I'd like to be able to draw and shoot, but I can't do that because I'm not paying $200 something to go to a class to teach me how to draw my weapon that I do like 40 times a day at home for practice.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, in Maryland, it was insurance.
Yeah.
So when the concealed carry stuff passed for the whole United States, and we were given the right to protect ourselves by the gods, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Um, there was a couple mishaps that happened. People shot themselves drawing, and then insurance companies were like, "We're not covering unless you provide training." So that's why in Maryland, I think most indoor ranges, in order for you to draw from the holster, you have to go through the class. But I don't think it's $200. I think it was. I think they told me it was like 60 or 50, something like that. and I think it's only like an hour. So you probably just sit there like, hey, keep your finger off the trigger
Yeah.
when you draw your weapon. When you know, put it back in your holster, keep your finger off it. Keep it away from your body. Keep it away from other people. All right, you can go now.
Got to
Yeah.
cater to the lowest common denominator over there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Which it's crazy because I get it. I understand insurance, all that stuff. Like I completely get that. But it just sucks when it's kind of like this scenario to where the bad eggs ruin it for everyone.
Hmm.
You got bad gun owners out there that do bad things with their pistols or guns or whatever, and it makes all of us look bad. Well,
Hmm.
you have one stupid person that messes up on their draw, and now all of us have to suffer because of it. It sucks.
It's funny that that's only applied to firearms, though. Like,
Hmm.
some retard crashes their car while texting and driving, and no one tries to blame everybody. No one tries to blame the car,
Yeah,
but firearms specifically, it's always
it's
the
always the
gun's
gun.
fault. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my gun constantly shoots itself.
you got a sig?
No, mine just it loads itself. It racks itself. It
Just
you
floats
know
around like in the video game.
Yeah, yeah.
it actually grows legs and walks around, and I have to catch it before
You got to
it
talk off
goes
the ledge
somewhere.
so it doesn't shoot at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you guys seen that? What's that VR thing called?
The
Oculus or
Ace
whatever?
VR, yeah,
Yeah, dude. Have you seen that?
I've got one. Yeah,
Is it nice?
they're pretty cool, man. They're pretty cool. It's a really good way to get a ton of rounds down range rounds,
Hmm.
um, with no expense other than the upfront cost.
Hmm.
And you have access to entire stages that would take a ton of time to set up real world.
Hmm.
Movers, swingers, bobbers, all the targets that most of us don't have access to.
Yeah, yeah.
You have access to in seconds, and you can get real time feedback on what you're doing.
Mm,
It definitely doesn't replace dry fire, but I think it's a great supplement to dry fire.
mm,
Um, yeah, I'm an advocate of it. I mean, uh, let's see, I got it the first. Oh man, it was pretty new. I had the prototype pistol and everything. Like the real thing wasn't even out yet.
hmm. That's
Um,
What's
cool,
it
man.
called?
Ace VR, Ace,
HDR.
Ace VR,
Oh,
ACE,
a
virtual
VR.
reality. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's I think I forgot what it costs. You pay like a monthly subscription or whatever. That's stupid cheap. It's like $19 a month or whatever. Which, and the context of firearms is pennies.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I think your first purchase for the handset and the first month subscription is like $100 or $200, something like that. It's not bad.
Mm.
So for less than the case of a case of 9 mil, you can get a lot of reps in with that thing.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I see handsets. They have the SIG P320, P365X Macro, Staccato,
Yeah,
Ace
Yeah, get the
Arc.
P320.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it'll shoot itself.
Right.
You got to pull the trigger.
My
So
And there's like guys that make aftermarket handsets too. If you have a specific model you want, I
Mm.
guarantee someone 3D prints it. So
So do you have to? Does that like go with a regular like VR headset thing, like the Oculus and all that,
yeah,
or
just
do
the
you have to?
Oculus. Yep,
Hmm.
yeah, it's
Dude,
like
you
it's
can
Okay,
get
so you
cool.
get the
the Quest
Oculus.
2 or the Quest 3. Either one will run it. So
you
That
3D
shit would
print
be
Okay.
tight.
the thing that you put the controllers in, right?
Hmm.
what's that?
It's like you 3D print the housing that you put your hand controllers
You
in.
can 3D print it. Yeah, they'll ship you one that's I don't know if it's 3D printed or injection molded or what, but it's weighted pretty similarly to the real pistol. It's
Really?
not just like some cheap plastic nonsense. It actually feels like a gun in the hand.
Oh wow.
Um,
That's
you get
awesome.
a live trigger. The trigger doesn't feel exactly like a real pistol, but I mean it's good enough.
Okay.
On the clock, you don't really notice. So,
I
Well,
I
think I
play,
found my Father's Day gift.
oh
Josh,
yeah,
you just
right.
turn
dude.
up your volume on your mic.
here's the thing, right? For me, so you need like a computer to run like the Oculus, don't you?
No,
Nope,
Nope.
No.
nope. It's
Oh,
completely independent, just on
Anybody?
Wi-Fi and
okay. See,
Rocket.
I thought you needed a computer to
no.
run it.
Listen, there's a game I play called contractors that you can buy through the Oculus store. It's pretty good when it comes to like you were just talking about weapons drills and training and stuff. They have a lot of stuff you can go. It's more like Call of Duty, but they have an area of the game where you can just run through drills with all different weapons platforms. They got sniper ranges, grenade ranges, pistol, and you can run through like timetables and like it's really fun, man. So
I actually saw something, and it's like I think it was like 2 or 3 grand. But it was one of the VR deals, but it had like a treadmill on it that you could run in any direction, and it's got like a harness, and
That's pretty high speed.
yeah, and you could sit there and basically, and like it basically simulates like I think you could play Call of Duty on it or something like that. Like
dude, they have full body
it's cool.
haptic suits that you feel the impact of the rounds. Depending on where you get hit. Dude,
that's cool.
Yeah, the Ace. There's like actual moving stages. It's not all static. There's a lot of static stuff too, because most people prefer that. But there's a lot of actual USPSA classifiers and stages and whatnot that you can move on. And if you set up the Oculus, set up the boundaries. You're shooting indoors. I'll tell you from experience, I run into many a wall trying to run these stages without the boundaries on. So,
yeah.
Are we cool to play that? I can play a clip from the game.
Yeah,
they're pretty cool.
Yeah, they'll probably be happy that we're not getting paid, but we're still advertising.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And if you have any questions about it, Noah Cinta, he's the marketing director for AceVR. He's a buddy of mine, so if I can reach out to him if you guys have any specific questions. But they put out a good product. I mean, they took the time to do it right. It's not like some of those half-assed, shooting games on the Oculus store.
Yeah. How much does the Quest 2 cost?
I don't know off the top of my head. They're not very much now that the 3's out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they have them at Costco for I bought it, but it was giving me like a mean ass headache.
Let's see.
Because of the motion, like the vertigo.
Yeah, most VR games make me nauseous. This one's not bad because you're moving with it.
You put the controller, you strap it to the top.
It rests inside the handset, the pistol, quote unquote.
That would be cool if they had a pistol version of the controller itself. You see what I'm saying? Like you could use your pistol as a controller without having to like attach it to the top, so you get the real weight.
Oh yeah. This thing's pretty close. I mean, you get the real weight of the gun. It's got an actual trigger that actuates. It doesn't recoil. That's the only thing you're not getting. It does have a real mag release, so you can drop a mag.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's what I'm getting for Father's Day, right there, dude. I saw it on Instagram, and I was like, this thing looks so cool. Especially like you telling me that it's pretty realistic, and then also the gun actually like kind of weighs like an actual pistol. That's really cool.
Yeah, it feels like pointing a real gun, and you get. I mean, like the gyroscope that's in it is pretty sensitive. So, like, if you present and your wrist is canted or whatever, like your dot will not be in the window. Or you can choose irons on there too, but it's just like presenting a real gun. Like if you're off, you're not going to see your dot or your sights.
That's cool.
Wow. So it's pretty. This is pretty good for training for a event, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And like I said, it's a great way to get access to like all those activators and multi-target arrays that it's not really feasible to set up in live practice. So you get a ton of reps out of this.
Or a lot of guys you talk to in the competition shooting world, are more and more people kind of being attracted to this VR shooting?
Oh yeah, there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
Dude,
see, if you know him, see if he would. Did we lose Austin?
He's still down there.
Oh, okay.
You said, I hope so?
No, I said,
No. See if you'll do the podcast. You have my number. Give him my number if he's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man, that'd be real cool to.
I'm sure he'd be down.
Of that. Yeah, man, I saw.
He's a good shooter too. He's, I think he's A class right now, probably knocking on the door to master. So he's
Okay.
He's a very good shooter.
That's
It
pretty
would. I
impressive.
just got dots on my concealed carry and my home gun, and like I had trained myself to blink my left eye when I shot irons because I would see two in the front and four in the back like this.
Uh,
So, so I would have to blink so this eye would take over. With the dot, I just see two of them, and the picture is still the same, so I don't give a shit. I know where I'm aiming at.
yeah, that's
it,
the nice thing about a dot is you're there's one focal plane, right? You
mm,
target focus, and the dot just
mm,
superimposes on your vision, as opposed
mm,
to irons where you got to align three different focal planes.
yeah,
So, I mean, I definitely advocate people run a dot if they have access to one. You know, I understand people might be limited on funds or whatever, but in the grand scheme of things, that they don't cost that much. If you're actually training with a gun, like you're going to spend way
Right.
more on ammo than a dot. So,
yeah.
And
That
when it
ammo
comes
is
to
not
like
cheap
how much is
anymore.
your life worth, right? You know,
yeah,
like
exactly, right? Like, and now, I mean, back in the day, dots were kind of hit or miss on the reliability aspect of it. Now they're pretty damn good. And like realistically, like if it did die on you, you can always co-witness irons. You can always use different aiming schemes without the dot. You can just use the optic window inside of most engagement distances. Like there's plenty of alternatives if the dot just happens to die, which it probably won't. So
hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I got the Olight sights, and they're
yeah, those are getting
rechargeable.
popular now. I haven't played with one yet.
Yeah, and they come with like a little hood that charges the battery. So you basically charge the hood, then you charge your optic, then you charge the hood again, and it only takes like 15% for a full charge. Um, and
So yeah,
it
I can't even remember to
lasts
charge
like
my phone. There's no way I'd remember to charge my optic.
it lasts a long time though. Like I've only charged it one time. I've had them for like 3 months, and it's on 75%.
Really?
Yeah, so it lasts a while. And for the longest time I had it on the brightest setting, which takes up even more. Now I turned it down because I started noticing like when I was dry firing, I was getting kind of like a bleed, but that's not actually there. It's just how bright it is, and my eyes were like
Yeah.
making it bleed. And then the cool thing is it gives you the single dot or the crosshairs, or the dot and the crosshairs at the same time. You have all three of those options.
Yeah, yeah. The Holosun's got that too. The 507, this guy right here.
Mm,
It's got the I don't know if you can see that or not.
Hmm.
The three reticle options or whatever.
yeah,
Dude, that's nice.
yeah, man.
Damn.
The I like the single dot, to be honest. There's too much going on with the multi reticle stuff.
Mhm,
Just kind of it pulls your vision into the dot instead of being target focused.
mhm.
So personally, I'm a fan of just one solid dot. But some people really prefer the
Yeah, to each his
the
own.
EOTech style reticle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the EO tech that I have on my AR is me and Rob went and sighted it in, and I sighted it to my crazy eyesight, and Rob shot it afterwards. He was shooting all stupid. He's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Dude, that's my eyes to hit the bullseye, all right, not yours."
Couldn't hit shit with it.
Yeah. Well, you know, he was hitting. It was just like low right.
Yeah.
Like all his stuff was going low right,
Uh,
It wasn't hitting shit.
and all mine by the end of it was just hitting right in the center. I was like, "All right, we're good." And he
as
picked it
long as
up.
it's a tight group, hey.
Yeah,
For real.
exactly. You got
Um,
onto it though.
I wanted to ask you guys. So this is something I've recently just found out about. And Rob, you probably could talk more on it because you know more about like the weapon parts and internals. But somebody I know had just recently gone to the range, and the person working there was hyping up this brand called Radical Firearms LLC. They have this AR-15 that is like $600. Like it's very cheap. The man who was working there, he pumped it up so much that apparently he's saying like tier one operators and like SOCOM guys are using this AR. Um, yeah, yeah. So apparently they are like super comfortable. They're very happy with it. You know, allegedly. So I know Rob. I think you did a little bit of research on it after I sent it to the group. But yeah, can you want to talk about like?
Yeah, I did a little bit, but for 600, like I would kind of see it as a Delton, or something like that. People probably get it and switch everything out. You know what I mean? I,
Yeah,
I don't know. That's like, I heard of High Point starting to make ARs too. You know what
yeah,
I
that's
mean?
Jeez.
right.
That's bold.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, well, what is the burrow mate? I didn't go that deep. Like the burrow or the boat. You know what I mean? So
So
Yeah,
I'll tell you, in the carving classes, I keep a tracker, an Excel sheet of everything, every piece of equipment that fails in class,
hmm
and I try to keep a running count of totals. That way, it's proportionate. It's not just skewed towards whatever I see the most.
yeah.
Mm.
Um, I don't think I've seen any radicals yet, but I've had a lot of the cheaper, $500-$600 ARs come through, and the rate of catastrophic malfunctions is
hmm
unreal. And like the Andersons, the Deltons, even the PSAs.
hmm
I think PSA uses relatively quality components, but they just don't know how to assemble a damn gun.
hmm
So so like the castle nuts back out and the whole buffer tube
hmm
comes loose and
Jeez.
things like that. But at least amongst like the Andersons and those really really cheap ARs, I've seen like crazy failures, like the threads on the lower where the buffer attaches, the buffer tube attaches, will
Mm.
just strip out completely.
Damn.
I've seen hammer pins and trigger pins walk out in the middle of courses of fire, like things that will totally just put your gun down until you get
Mm.
replacement parts or get a new lower or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say one way or the other, like definitively you have to spend a certain quantity to get a decent gun, but I would say avoid those super cheap manufacturers because they're cheap for a reason, right? They're
Mhm.
Yeah.
sacrificing either QC or material costs to
Yeah,
reach
that's
those
right.
those margins. Like if they're
Mm.
making margins on $600 guns, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Have you seen any problems with like stag arms or
I
Bushmaster?
haven't had many stags in class. I've had a couple, and that's because they make a lefty gun. I think they make a lefty gun.
hmm
Yeah, they
I've
do.
had some lefties bring them in. So what other manufacturer did you say?
Bushmaster, the
I
old
don't think I've had
Bushmaster.
any Bushmasters, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Uh,
go ahead. My bad.
no, I was going to say Anderson has been by and far the most failure rates of
Yeah,
any gun I've had in
they're pretty
class.
cheap too, right?
It's stupid cheap. They're like $500 or $600 too.
hmm
Jeez.
So I had to look it up because I heard of another cheap gun that's actually making a little bit of headway on being a like a really good gun for a really good price, and it's Daria Arms. I don't know
I'm
if
not
you
familiar
heard
with
of
I
them,
even
no.
heard of
So they have a gun. I think it's called the DV or the DY9 or DC9 or something like that.
Mm.
And let's see, yeah, DY9, and it's $400. And apparently, this thing is an actual like banger of a gun for a
Is that a
really good price.
rifle?
No, it's a pistol.
Oh, okay.
that. I thought you were
Mm,
talking about a rifle.
I was
What
about to say
I did too.
$400,
what
bro.
were you talking
I
about?
was
Yeah.
like,
I'm
Well,
saying.
you were talking about cheap guns,
Mhm.
and that reminded me. I saw something about
What was the model?
Daria DY9.
Oh
Where is it
yeah,
made?
I see it. I see it.
was that a Turkish brand?
I
I
was
think I've
about to
seen
say
their
that.
shotguns, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they have shotguns.
There's your DY9.
It looks cool.
Right?
So, I mean, yeah, some cheap pistols you can get. I mean, quality product. Canic's been crushing it, and they're
Yeah.
relatively inexpensive. So
Yeah, their
I know.
shotguns are pretty stupid expensive,
That
but
just looks like a Glock that's,
A little fancier.
yeah. Hmm. It looks cool though. I
Yeah.
ain't gonna lie.
I'll let someone else be the guinea pig before
Yeah.
I.
Right.
Right.
Someone will be on YouTube reviewing it.
Right.
hmm
You think it'll make it
Yeah,
to
you gotta
1,000
watch out with
rounds?
those though.
Yeah.
They get that shill money. So
Right.
I don't know.
Nah, they're all honest reviewers.
yeah,
What are
yeah,
you
yeah.
talking about,
You can
dude?
believe everything on the internet, right?
Hey, if you want to
Right.
buy it, here's a discount.
Right.
Click this link. You know what I mean? Well, we actually, speaking of discounts, we actually have two sponsors.
I was
Uh,
actually about to do that. You just stole it from me.
so we have Cock Firearms. Kyle, he's in Florida. I don't know if you know him or not, but
Don't know.
cockfirearms.com. If you use 2AB, you get 10% off. He's a stand-up guy.
Mm.
If you and he has almost everything on his website. If it's not on his website, he could get it for you. Just let
Mm-hmm.
him know what you want. He'll find it and ship it to your doorstep. And then we also have GoliathDefense.com. Um, my battle belt, my rig that I'm going to use tomorrow, that's from from him,
Yep.
and we used it to go training with Josh Morgan, and they work great. So,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
again on Goliath Defense, you use 2AB, you get 10% off
Yep.
site wide.
Yep.
Yep.
Another stand-up great guy.
Yep.
Yep.
Makes
And
quality.
American Asshole. He's cool too.
Not a sponsor, but he
Yeah.
does have a
He's
shop
cool.
and he is cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's a
he's not
cool
a
dude.
sponsor, but you can. But he's got some good stuff on there too, and he's got a good like mission statement and everything. But and you can also find our podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Apple, and Amazon for all of our listeners that just want the audio. So
Yeah.
Motherfuckers.
I want to
We're
say
trying to
another.
get video, but
Mm.
Rumble tends to. So when we download our podcast from Rumble, the audio is slightly off from the picture, so
for some
Mm.
reason,
Spotify won't let us upload it that way.
Ah.
I,
So
I I had another question for you. What handguns have you seen that had a lot of problems?
Oh boy.
T320.
Where to start?
he's like, "How much time
So,
do you guys have?"
yeah. Recently, well, so this is in classes and in the military. The 320 variants
Mm-hmm.
have had some issues. So, like all the M17s we got active duty were awful, man. Like
Hmm.
I had 34 assigned to me for my platoon, and of all the 34 in my property book that we took the range, their first day out of the package, we had like over a dozen that
Damn.
wouldn't go into battery. So
Hmm.
I think they were extremely undersprung from factory. I don't know if that's been fixed or not, but at least at the time, like they were essentially bolt action pistols.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I've seen some other 320 issues, but I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of drama going on with them right now. I don't know if the catastrophic guns going off by themselves thing is legitimate or personal negligence or what, but at least as far as like reliability wise that I've seen, I probably wouldn't advocate the 320s. 365 seems to be okay. I haven't seen the issues with those.
I actually want to get a 365. So I actually did a little digging into why the 320 was having the issues with the failures. So you know how they took the frame basically of a hammer fire pistol and turned it into a striker fire.
Yeah, they're 230 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, basically, the main issue they were having, from what I could tell from the research I did, was they had a spring with a rounded end against a flat plate, right? And so what would happen is when you bumped it, that rounded end would slide off the plate, causing it to
mm,
fire.
Mm,
Um, and that was, their main issue.
Mm.
So, from everything I could tell, and they just rushed it. I mean, if you look at the contract with they had against Glock, I mean, Glock had the 19X ready to go. It
Mhm.
was everything they were looking for, and they were prepared. Sig, while I'm not bashing on Sig because I don't hate Sig or anything, they were having issues. They needed extensions, stuff like that, and they just weren't ready.
Negligent discharges and
The
well,
contract
SIG is notorious for letting their end users be their R&D.
but Glock should have got the contract, and it's been proven based off the 320 being an absolute failure. But they're having issues at court because all these people are trying to like take them to court for lawsuits,
mm.
but they keep shutting down expert witnesses basically, and that's the reason why they actually haven't had like an actual lawsuit go against them is because their lawyers have been finding ways to shut down the expert witnesses that people bring on.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I need
And
your
Well,
lawyers then,
did you
man.
see that they updated their user manual to say they don't advocate carrying one in the chamber. I was like, oh, that seems like a little bit of adjustment built there.
Like I said,
Happened to
Why would
want
you
update the
do
manual.
that?
I want to get the 365 macro. Like I actually really want that pistol.
They
I
seem
love
solid. All the 365s have been no issues so far that I've seen.
yeah, I love Glock and everything, but I've held the 365. I haven't shot one, but I held it and it just fit my hand so nice, especially the macro. It just
Mm-hmm.
fit my hand so nicely, and it being such a slim frame, but you still get a double stack in there. It's like it was built around the magazine basically. It feels like,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just such a comfortable gun to hold, and so I really want one. Plus, I think they have the 365s. You can get them like comped from the factory.
Yeah, they've got the man, they've got so many SKUs now. I can't keep up with them, but they've got the slide that's ported,
Yeah.
so it's integrally compensated or whatever.
Mhm.
I've heard good things about those. They've got the Legion models now,
Mhm.
the metal frames.
Yeah.
So they've got a
Like
lot of
the Legion.
options. I wish they would actually test before shipping. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
Any other brands?
Yeah, Taurus has a pretty
Oh,
high failure rate in class. I don't even know what models they are. I have them on my white sheet, but um, whatever their polymer guns are have had issues.
hmm
Some of the what is that? The Smith and Wesson EZ or whatever, the 380. People
yeah,
bring those to class for some reason. I don't know why people bring compacts to a
with the
1,000
grip.
round class because your hands are going to hurt. But
hmm
those have had issues. CZs, I love CZ and I've shot CZs for years. The slide stops in these things break like no other, and there's no predicting when they're going to break.
Mm.
Shadow 2 specifically. Sometimes it's 10,000 rounds, sometimes it's 1,000 rounds. So
Damn,
uh,
like
if you're a
rolling the
Shadow 2
dice.
owner, just be aware of that. Keep some spare slide stops on hand because they will break randomly on you.
So
What
that's
else?
Shadow Systems.
CZ Shadow 2.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Easy.
Yeah. So,
gotcha.
I mean, super nice gun. I love the thing. And like, it runs with no issues,
Mm.
except when that thing
Except
breaks.
that.
And it's always going to be during a match, never during practice.
You really don't need a slide lock though. It's like,
Well, it's the slide stop too, so your slide will just go down range. If
yeah,
if you don't need a slide, then sure. Yeah.
right.
I mean, do you? That's weight reduction.
Lots of 2011s just are super finicky. So like some of the bougie 2011s have issues. I've got a $10,000 gun here that it's a paperweight. This thing won't run to save my life.
Jeez.
Damn, it's
This
like a
one is
chicken and nuts.
borrowed. It's I don't know. These run like $4 or $5 grand. They're a little bit cheaper than the other one, but this one's super. One, it has to be super wet to run, and two, this one I think was reamed improperly, so it only feeds 115s.
Mm.
135s, 147s will not feed through this thing. They won't even plunk in the barrel, so I don't think it was reamed deep enough. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of it. This gun right here blew up on me. You can see in there that the slide's cracked. There's still around or a brass in the chamber.
Oh, jeez.
Damn.
But that's an I major gun, so that's going to happen. So, I mean, yeah, all kinds of failures. But typically, as far as like factory guns go, it tends to be 320s and Taurus.
Didn't Smith and Wesson, I think it was, come out with a Glock clone?
The SVE.
Probably, I don't know. They're M&Ps are great. I love those things.
I see. I hate the MPs.
Really,
Yeah, I hate them.
Like the
the
Absolutely.
grip
first.
angle or what?
What?
The grip angle or
I hate the trigger. I hate the grip angle. Like I hate everything about the
Mhm.
MPs.
Like the first M&P triggers suck balls. I think. With
yeah, the
that
Gen
thin
ones
strip.
were mushy, but I mean, on
Yeah.
the clock, I didn't really notice.
hmm Yeah.
The
It's
the yeah the
what I say.
M&P
SVE.
2.0s or whatever are pretty solid.
MVE.
But
The one that had the Glock style trigger.
It's still a hinge trigger, but it's just much more tactile. Like you can actually feel the reset a little bit, and it's not so
Mhm.
mushy to pull through.
so
Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, speaking of triggers, real quick. Have you seen or heard of the Glock performance trigger?
I have. I fondled a couple of them, only dry fire, never on a live range. They do feel much better than a standard Glock trigger.
Okay.
I've had a couple people, other competitors, that was running. They were running them in matches for a few months, and those things have to stay clean apparently,
Really?
or they'll stop working on you,
Really?
which
Damn.
is kind of a pain in the ass for a trigger system because you got to disassemble the frame to wipe it down.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, very nice triggers as far as Glock goes, but a little bit finicky.
Because I was thinking about getting one for my carry weapon, but I don't like if it's that bad to where you have to like disassemble it to clean it constantly.
Yeah, I mean it's every couple thousand rounds, so it depends how
Yeah.
off what your firing schedule is for your carry gun.
Yeah.
The
I
Apex
mainly
triggers aren't bad for Glock if you want to go that route.
yeah.
You said
Do
I
you,
Apex?
do
Apex, yeah,
you think for a carry gun you should just keep it stock or?
I do. I mean, realistically, like the trigger doesn't make that much of a difference.
Hmm.
Glocks might be the exception because Glock triggers do kind of suck, but in general, like factory triggers don't really bother me that much. Like I carry a CZ P10C and I keep that stock. I've got
Hmm.
a Glock 48 that I have stock.
Hmm.
So, I mean, as long as your grip and your foundational skills are solid, like your
Hmm.
trigger doesn't matter too much.
How
yeah.
how do you feel about revolvers?
I have zero experience with revolvers. I've shot one ever,
No.
so I'm the wrong guy to ask.
Oh, okay.
How do you feel about because I've actually been again looking at I've been looking at doing a couple upgrades to my pistol. I'm trying to save up over time for it. How do you feel about comping your carry pistol?
I don't think it's a bad idea as long as your gun still cycles. The problem that a lot of them I've seen with is
Got to
if
run
you put
plus
a
P.
compensator on there, you have to run lighter springs or you have to run plus P. Um, as long as you validate that the gun runs at least 1,000 rounds after you put that thing on there, like
Mhm.
I'm all about it. Any advantage you can get is a positive, a net positive. But you have to vet that gear when you make changes like that because I've seen too many people, throw it on before a match or a class or whatever, and then that thing won't run more than a mag. So
Yeah.
same thing with like porting. If you get the gun ported, just make sure the gun runs. It's less likely to malfunction with porting than a compensator, but
Yeah.
I'd still put some rounds through it to ensure that.
Yeah, that it runs smoothly.
Yeah, because I mean, if you have to lower your spring weight to the point where the gun's like
Mhm.
dribbling brass out, it's not really ejecting very strongly. Like maybe not, a defensive gun.
So would you say stick with like factory porting and stuff? You know what I'm saying? Buy it already.
Yeah, most of the factory ported guns are pretty solid, like the Performance Center, Smith and Wessons,
Hmm.
the compensated Sigs, all that kind of stuff. Like they have them pretty well tuned from factory, where you're probably not going to need to do too much to it.
Hmm.
But again, every new carry gun I get, like I'm putting at least 1,000, 2,000 rounds through it
Yeah.
to make sure there's no issues before I carry it. So,
How many carry rounds do you think you should put through your gun before you use ammo for carry?
oh, the actual round type you're going to be using?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe 100. That gets expensive if you do too much more than
Mhm.
that. So, I'll run like 1 to 2,000 rounds of ball ammo, and
Hmm.
then a couple boxes of whatever your defensive carry ammo is, because yeah, at like $1 a round, you don't want to shoot 1,000 rounds
Yeah.
of that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hurt your pockets.
yeah, that hurts the wallet pretty good.
I've
Mhm.
been trying to run at least like a mag or two of every time I go or at least a mag or two when I go to the range of my carry ammo just
Yeah,
to just to get it to where I'm comfortable with it, and make sure that it
Mhm.
shoots.
yeah. As a general rule of thumb, your carry ammo is going to be a little spicier than
Mhm.
standard ball ammo, so it's probably going to cycle
Mhm.
fine, as long as it feeds. Now, like Hornady critical defense versus critical duty,
Mhm.
one's catered towards compact guns, where one is catered towards full size guns. So like the bullet profile is a little bit different. so you might get some issues feeding in one versus the other. So just things like that. You got to just validate that it actually doesn't get caught up on your feed ramps, things like that. But for the most part, if it runs ball ammo, it's going to run defensive ammo. So
Any suggestion for self defense rounds or?
there's you can find ballistic tests to justify pretty much any decision. Spear gold dot is kind of the gold standard in my opinion. You've got Hornady critical defense, Hornady critical duty. I'm not really into like the gimmicky rounds that try to reinvent the wheel, like the what do they call it, the ripstop or whatever, the ones that have like the 8 prongs that come out when they just good old hollow points as long as they're tried and true.
What did you think about HST?
HST's good. Can't go wrong with HST. Most of the federal defensive rounds are pretty solid. So there's some like boutique brands that make hollow points to carry and stuff, and I don't know that I've seen enough data from them to justify the price they charge. But I think of the common ones, you're probably not going to go wrong.
Like what do you think about like the extreme defenders and the extreme penetrators?
Haven't even seen them. Couldn't tell you.
Is that what you got at the PA gun show, Rob?
Nah, I already had some, but I don't like. I haven't found information. They say they barrier blind, but I don't know. Like, can it really be better than a nice hollow point? You know what I mean? Or like,
so what do you mean barrier blind?
Lighter, like go through glass, wood,
Gotcha.
stuff like that.
I'm skeptical of any claims like that because it's damn near impossible to say definitively you're not going to have deflection going through a hard surface. So anyone that makes a claim like that, I'm probably like red flag. But I'm open to see the evidence, but I don't believe it off word of mouth.
And another thing, like those extreme defenders are light for caliber also. So
how are they? Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see more data on it before I said one way or the other.
Yeah, but why would they want to make a hollow point that has penetration? Isn't the whole purpose of a hollow point so it has less penetration but more punch behind the impact?
Well, I guess you want enough to hit vitals, but you don't want to punch through somebody.
They say it should be enough penetration to go through the arm and hit the vitals.
Okay.
Your bones and everything.
Yeah.
That's an FBI test, right?
The FBI standard is kind of the go-to for ballistic testing. I've seen other ballistic gel testing that seems to be on par or at least on par with the FBI tests. But the FBI is kind of the gold standard.
Yeah.
Well, with penetration, what gets me is have you heard to where in New Jersey you can't carry hollow points at all?
No, I don't keep up with the New England states because it's just
don't care about
UK up there,
I'm almost positive in New Jersey you can't carry hollow points that are illegal.
You can't.
And for me, what gets me is I feel like hollow points are a safer round to carry.
Yeah.
In a defensive situation.
Yeah, if you're carrying ball ammo, you're good chance you're punching through somebody. So
yeah, exactly.
Well, when we had Walker on, he said that there's like a loophole you could use the Hornady because it's technically not a hollow point because it has that little red stop.
The rubber, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that was the loophole that's how they carry hollow points up there.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have bureaucrats making decisions who don't know anything about anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because hollow points are meant to kill.
And if you're shooting like indoors in a defensive situation, like ball ammo is going through your walls into your neighbor's walls.
Like butter.
Well, 2 weeks ago we had a woman on. Her name was Devin. She has her own TikTok page where she posts basically news about Second Amendment stuff, legislation, and all that. And she had posted a bill that was signed into law. I forgot what state it was, Colorado. Right?
Yep.
that
Yeah, I remember
basically
talking.
banned any firearm that had a detachable magazine.
Yeah, I mean California's not far off. They did the whole you couldn't have a detachable box mag in your ARs. It had to be like the bullet button was the workaround.
Yeah,
The
that
bullet
dumbass
button,
shit.
dude.
The
And like you
bullet
said,
button? What do you
it's
You
mean?
have to use the tip of a round to drop your mag. You can't just
Mhm.
drop it with your finger.
that's the loophole.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really stopping gang violence and shit, isn't it?
well, if I plan on committing a mass murder, you know what I'm really gonna do? Make my shit California compliant.
Yeah.
I don't know who sits there in their office and thinks these things up, but
Yeah, because criminals follow gun laws. You didn't know that?
exactly right. Wouldn't want to
Oh,
catch a gun charge when I'm about to commit a murder, you know?
Right?
you think the
Just the
first thing
murder
they do
charge. I
is,
don't want the gun
Yeah,
charge.
wait a minute, is this a gun-free zone? Oh, we got to turn back,
got to
man.
turn around. Can't pass
Oh,
that sign.
I plan on robbing a bank. Let me get my concealed carry license first.
Right?
You know?
Dude, what the heck?
Yeah, math
The
checks
one
out.
thing, the one thing I
Yeah.
don't understand, why would they want to disarm a law-abiding citizen?
Because it's
Yes,
easy.
you're trying to make sense of people that don't make sense. You do.
Like, yeah, like it doesn't. I don't get it. Like, why would you want a law-abiding citizen defenseless?
Because they want us defenseless.
So they can protect us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when the government's your daddy, you're taken care of. Yeah.
I mean,
well.
in Albania, the first thing that the dictator did after World War II was he took all the guns.
That's what Hitler did.
Yeah, exactly.
Every modern genocide ever
Yeah,
has
Stalin.
been
it's like
disarming. Has been the start
we
of it.
got you.
Right.
You know what I
Venezuela.
mean?
Hmm.
Like, even when I talk to
Hugo
my
Chavez.
parents and I ask them like how was it growing up in that? You know what I mean? Because I grew up in communism, and they were like, well, everything was safe, and like a woman could walk down the street and nothing bad would happen. There was no drugs. There was. I'm like, okay, cool. What happened to the point that you were rationed food?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Your
you were
one wool
rationed.
sock.
You couldn't. Yeah, you got one wool sock per home. You know what I
One
mean? We
rat
had
a
to
month to
share.
eat.
We had to share it. So the one wool sock. Let's explain this. 'Cause so I was telling these fools the story when I was little. I hated wearing wool socks, but our house wasn't central aired. We had a stove, and then the upstairs it was just if it's cold outside, it's cold. So my grandma knitted me a vest out of wool and then wool socks to go along with it when I would go out so I wouldn't, catch a cold and sick and die, you know what I mean? I hated those things. Well, these fools were like, well, how many did you have? And I was like, well, I had two. They're like, no, you have one per household. So that's where the joke comes on. The
And you had to
government only
share.
gave us enough wool for one sock.
You had to share it across the family. You
Well,
Yeah,
Right.
me shit, it's my turn for the side.
I am cold.
You had to ration out your hour of the day that you got the wool sock between
Yeah.
each
Yeah. Once
foot.
it gets cold, you switch feet.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where
What
the
you
one.
talking about? Communism works, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been done right yet, right? That's their
Right.
claim.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I think we got a new idea for T-shirts. Communism works. Dude, that's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
Like these people that want communism, America to be communist or socialist. Like, do they talk to people that lived under that shit before?
No.
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 Like, do they wonder why people sneak into this country
They
from
talk to
those
their blue-haired
countries?
friends at community colleges, and
They read books on how great Marxism is, and
exactly
they're
right.
innovators.
Yeah,
The
Dude,
idea of it is,
it's
but
great.
it's
Yeah, the idea of
Yeah, it
it's
looks great
great.
on paper.
it's
Yeah.
fucking corrupt to the core, man.
Like in our country right now, even though we're free and we have freedom of speech, we have all these rights. There's still corruption. So now imagine if they had all the power.
That's something
Right.
easier to corrupt,
You know what I mean?
When there's no fear of recourse, like what's
right?
stopping the government from doing anything?
yeah.
Exactly.
You know,
They're trying to tell us how much water could come out of our shower head as we
That's
live.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what?
yeah.
You-
Oh, did
you
you hear
couldn't
about the
collect
guy that
rainwater?
he's like the new I can't remember his title, but he's like the new international
The
some,
Mahdi.
no something or another, and basically like he's advocating for people to get rid of like regulate their water to like 1,000 liters
He's
a day.
the new head of the World Economic Forum. Yeah,
Yep, yep, yep,
he's
yep.
the
Oh,
son of the previous
oh,
guy, and
But
he's saying that water is not a right that
but
should be
did you know
privatized
that
and
he
yeah.
has
controlled.
he has two
Yes,
houses with swimming pools?
Oh
Mhm.
yeah. They're not gonna regulate his water. Yeah.
dude.
Yeah,
But don't
his
every drop of
two
He's
houses
he's
with
like the
swimming
new
pools.
Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
Right. Right. What's like AOC and Bernie Sanders going on these like eat the rich tours or whatever, where they're flying their private jets and charging $75 a ticket and whatnot. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
man, these socialists sure are profiting off capitalism. It's crazy.
So
well,
Yeah.
like thinking back in the day to where it was like in the 50s and the 60s, right? You go around saying like, you're a communist and like everyone hated you, in America. Even
mhm,
like after World War II, did you know there was baby cages, they called them? And it was for kids that fought for the Nazis in World War II.
Mhm.
They were basically camps that were because they were afraid that these kids were going to go from socialism to communism because
Mhm.
they're kind of similar, right? And so they were teaching these kids that were fighting for the Nazis during World War II. They put them in the camps, but they couldn't put them in the camps with the adults. So they had a separate camp for them, and they taught them that socialism and communism is bad. And now you got kids teaching, everyone that communism and socialism is the best thing that was ever invented.
best things in sliced bread.
Yeah.
That's the power of social engineering. It's a
Right.
massive subversion campaign. They've convinced American youth that no. All those atrocities that happened in the past, that won't happen today. That was a
Yeah,
bunch of
but
Neanderthals back then,
Mhm.
but then they simultaneously bitch about Hitler.
Mhm.
That's like their go-to guy. Like, oh, Trump's Hitler. Trump's Hitler.
But yet they're the
Well,
fascists, they're the socialists,
Yeah.
they're the ones that are trying to control. They're the ones that sit there and hate on a race for. Oh, we lost them.
there, which is crazy. Well, there's actually a growing movement of pro Hitler people. It
Kanye West.
Dude, it is wild. It's mind blowing. So they started releasing these videos about translations of Hitler's speeches on social
Mhm.
media,
Mhm.
and everybody's like, "Oh, he's not such a bad guy." And with the oh man, maybe I should wait till he comes back before we get more into this.
I feel
But
like
yeah,
Whoopi Goldberg was like the godmother of that, because she
about
wasn't Whoopi Goldberg the one that went on TV and was like, you know, she didn't say Hitler wasn't that bad, but basically she was like downplaying the Holocaust.
hmm.
I don't know. All them bitches on the View is dumbass bitches. So
How was she down? How was she downplaying the Holocaust?
Basically, she was I can't remember, so don't quote me on this, but I think she was like comparing the Holocaust to slavery and was basically like, "Oh, it wasn't nearly as bad." And it
Oh, it
wasn't bad.
wasn't.
It wasn't bad. Well, she was saying it wasn't bad because it was white people killing white people.
Oh, okay. So that
Yeah.
it doesn't matter then. You know what I
but
mean?
why? Why compare atrocities, man? I don't get it.
Oh yeah,
How?
she was suspended for that comment too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she was basically
Freedom of
saying like
speech, fellas.
Dude, it is
Hitler.
time for that show to be banned.
Yeah, but
Like,
no, yeah, she was basically saying like Hitler wasn't bad because he was a white person killing white people.
Mm.
Whereas like slavery was white people owning black people. So it was much worse.
No, the black people, so
We don't
gassed
talk
up
about
the
that though.
slaves.
We don't talk about
Over
that
there,
though.
they sold out their own race.
We don't talk
You need
about
to
that.
say
That's
that.
not taught in schools, so you can't talk about that.
Mm. Like,
But what were you saying earlier, Josh, about how there's like a growing trend of like people supporting Hitler?
yeah. Well, oh yeah. Well, so Whoopi Goldberg, she was saying that
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 dumb bitch.
the
Very
Holocaust
reliable
wasn't
source.
about that the Holocaust wasn't about race, and
Yeah.
it was like she said something like man's inhumanity to man or something like that. But anyway, yeah, so there's this growing movement behind Hitler now, and they translated some of his speeches into English, and they're like, oh, he's not so bad. And so on top of that, so there's like this conspiracy movement, and then it's like a mainstream movement of like people are finding out like, oh, there's Jewish people behind like all of these different things, infrastructure and like government and like, healthcare, telecom, all this stuff. And there's like, so they're just like, oh, there's so many Jews behind it. Anyway, so people are starting to like have a negative outlook on Jewish people, and that is causing the other side to say like, oh well, I guess Hitler really is not that bad. So there's, you know what I mean. So that's what's been happening. What I've been noticing on social media. So the movement for Hitler is
Well,
blowing up.
So wait,
so
wait,
so
hang
that
on.
also happened because of what is it? Mark Zuckerberg loosened up all that shit.
Yeah.
Except for Brandon,
The
apparently.
freedom of
Yeah,
speech.
Except for
yeah.
Brandon.
He loosened up the anti-Semitism, not the guns.
Yeah, not
So
the
wait,
guns.
wait, 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 wait. So does that mean that people are gonna start liking Trump because he's literally Hitler, quote unquote?
Yeah, you
So,
remember the punch a Nazi movement?
Man, if Trump said oxygen was good for you, there'd be a bunch of liberals holding their breath right now. It's you could say anything and they'd find a reason to disagree.
Yeah,
yeah.
basically.
I think that'd be the funniest thing if all the people that are saying like Trump is literally Hitler are gonna start rooting for Trump now because he's quote unquote literally Hitler. You know, like I would probably find that the funniest thing ever.
Ultimate reverse psychology move.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, there. So I know somebody, like, I'm not gonna like go into specifics, but I know somebody who I used to respect, and they were, pretty conservative, and they ended up going through this like doctorate program, and by the end of it, they were full on
Dumb
Trump
bitch.
derangement syndrome diagnosed, and like,
Diagnosed.
dude, Tide, yeah, dude, they were just so indoctrinated after that, and they were like already adults. They decided to go back to college. It's not like they went to college right after high school. They were adults, had a career, and they were like, okay, I'm going to go back to college. And then it just somehow they were indoctrinated, and I was like,
It's scary how easy it is to convince somebody to completely turn their ideologies. Like, have you? I forgot the name of the experiment, but essentially they put a bunch of actors in a room, and there's one person in every group who's the study subject essentially, and they put three lines on a screen, A, B, or C, and you have to match the length to the the demonstration line.
mm,
It's clear which one is right. Right, everything else is either extremely too short or extremely too long. There's no debate about it. They get everybody and all the actors in the room to say it's C or whatever, which is blatantly wrong.
mm,
And by the time they get to the person who's the subject, that 99% of them will say C because they
mm,
want to conform to the crowd, right? They're like, oh well,
ah,
if I'm 1 in 100 who says it's A, I must be wrong. So it's crazy how easy it is to convince somebody otherwise, from the obvious that
Yeah,
dude,
dude.
yeah,
Yeah,
the herd mentality.
it,
exactly.
it's crazy, dude. There's a guy I've talked about him before. There's a guy that I work with, and I respect him greatly. Right? He used to be very conservative, and some stuff happened to where he changed his mind. And I'm not disagreeing on whether or not he has the right to his opinion. Uh, we can still, me and him, the one thing I really respect about him, besides the fact that he's a very nice person, is that we can talk politics and not get, he doesn't get butthurt over me saying he's wrong, and I don't get butthurt when he says I'm wrong. We both respect each other's opinion even though they're different. So I have the utmost respect for this man. But same thing, he didn't go to college and have this thing, but it kind of same thing, like he went and just following the herd and just seeing all this stuff, and he completely changed his views. And again, I don't I don't know his reasoning for it. He could have very valid reasons for why he changed his views. Um, but just the fact of how crazy it was to see him flip from one side to another, it's just it's weird, you know. Especially because as people get older, generally they go more conservative. Because
Hmm.
there's a saying I always use, and it's a quote saying that when you're young, you're it's basically something like when if you're not a Democrat when you're young, you have no compassion, but if you're not a conservative when you're old, you have no brain. you know
Hmm.
and I'm not saying that in a disrespectful sense, maybe kind of a little bit, but generally as you get older, like, you see a lot of people more go towards the conservative side because you start to do more research into certain things. But I've always said people vote based off of their life experiences. You might see some, like, you might be against guns because you had a bad experience with guns.
Hmm.
But it's something to where you have to look and do research and say, okay, guns aren't the issue, there's a deeper problem behind it. But it's a lot easier to say guns are the issue than it is to say people are the issue, or this group of people are the issue. you
Yeah,
know
that
so
are on antidepressants.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
you're kind of taking the easy way of getting the solution rather than the hard way. There's a ton of things we can go into about single motherhood, and why there's so many single mothers and single parent households, why there's so much crime in certain areas. We can go into a lot. It's easier to say let's fix it this way than it is to go the proper route and fix the actual root of the issue.
A
And
lot of it is people aren't even looking for a solution, right? They're looking for identity politics. So they're single issue voters. They know the party that aligns with their single
Mhm.
issue, and then everything else is identity politics. It's, hey, my party says this is the line I will toe, and I'm gonna follow the herd. So,
Mhm.
and it's on both sides too. Like, I don't get me wrong, it's definitely more prevalent right now with the left, but I mean, the right is just as susceptible to that crap. Like, there's plenty of stuff I would say Trump is definitely not on the right track on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but people will defend him to the death too because
Mhm.
Yeah.
toe party lines,
Yeah.
like
Me and
taking over
Rob were
the
talking about before we got on, and I told him, I was like, Trump's been bought.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? He's been bought. He's not the same president as he was his
Mhm.
first term, and it's because he needed money.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
been bought.
I
and
don't
even
think.
his first term. I mean, he wasn't. He had plenty that you could speak out against. Like he
Yeah.
maybe he didn't speak out against guns as nearly as much as any DNC candidate did, but
Hmm.
in practice, he did more against guns than any other president did because he
Yeah.
enacted the bump stock ban.
Yeah.
He supported the red
Red
flag
flag.
laws.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's plenty of stuff we can speak out against on him, but people like hardcore conservatives will just defend him to the death and say like, oh
Mm-hmm.
well, this and that, find a way to justify and validate it. And not saying like don't get me wrong, he was still the better of the two choices, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
people will toe
Less
party
than
lines
two
no
evils.
matter what, and defend this candidate like it's a sports team. Like, you don't owe them any allegiance. They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody who runs for office is a good person, right? Like,
Yeah. That's
Mm-hmm.
true. That's
I
very
that
true.
that office does not attract people you want.
yeah.
Right.
I don't think it's
Power
so
hungry
much.
people.
I
Their
don't
job
think.
Exactly.
is to lie to us.
Yeah.
I don't think it's so much Trump's been bought. I think it's also he's kind of tiptoeing right now, and he's
He
afraid to
has.
do certain things because of how much he's been attacked. But like the main issue, I disagree with a lot of ways he's been handling certain things. Like, I was all on board for the tariffs, right? But I felt like he went too fast into the tariffs, and he hasn't done anything about taxes. I'm still getting raped in taxes right now,
Right.
but now we have tariffs coming. So now I'm getting kind of double raped because we haven't done anything about our income taxes, you know, but yet we're getting tariffs already,
Yeah, and there's a lot of unrealistic promises, like, oh, well, we'll reduce, household income tax once we balance the budget. When
Yeah.
is that going to be? Not anytime
Yeah.
soon. Like,
Well, even like the he was promising about the I was so excited for it, which I knew that it was going to be a process. I knew it wasn't. I wasn't expecting it to be first day in office.
Overtime and tips.
But overtime and tips. I work so much overtime. Ask any of these guys, right? I kill myself at my job working overtime, and like I said today, I did a 16-hour shift.
Yep.
And so I was looking forward to that, and it hasn't even gotten past the House yet. It hasn't made it through the House, the Senate, nothing. It's still just being talked about, and I'm already getting hit with tariffs. I don't go and buy a bunch of new stuff, so it's not really affecting me that much. But still, just the fact that tariffs are coming in already, and I'm still getting raped in taxes on my overtime.
Mm-hmm.
It's to be honest, it's kind of bullshit. But I understand, like you guys said, he was the better of the two choices. But I think the way he's going about it is just uh, he's rushing certain things, but it seems like he's taking his time on other things.
Mhm.
Yeah, something's different. Something
Yeah.
different this time
Mhm.
around. I don't know if what you said is true about being bought. I really don't know, but yeah.
Maybe that
Well,
bullet did something to him.
well, no. The reason why I'm saying he was bought is because a majority of his campaign came from a certain group of people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And when that happens to any president, it doesn't matter who it is. Now you owe these people something. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's how all the, laws for green energy, blah blah blah, all that stuff. That that's how they get passed, and then ultimately the people in office make a shit ton of money. That's how all those Congress people are millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
Cough, cough. Pelosi.
He's a,
You
No,
know,
she gets hers through the
he's a
stock market.
genius with the stock
Yeah,
market.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
well,
Fucking
Yeah.
Little
it's not
inside.
even
She doesn't
that. It's
get
like
kickback. She gets insider tips.
right,
Those
like all
kickbacks,
the
man.
all the kickbacks from the Ukrainian war. It's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Like Joe Biden got $99 million kicked back to him.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so, and like all the people that are on that list, they all had over $50 million that they got kicked back. And I think it was like 10 people that were on. I forgot. I posted on our podcast page.
But what the
Yeah.
fuck
That's
are they gonna do about it? That's the question.
Nothing. They want to keep the money. What do you think?
But
wild to me that we can get audited for a $600 PayPal transaction, but they
Right?
can
Yeah.
insider trade, make
yeah.
180 grand a year, and be worth $33 million, and that's not a problem.
Yeah.
What's the
But
point of them
They don't
coming
get
out with it if they're
audited.
not gonna do nothing about it?
Yeah.
so they're
And
actually
like I said last time, it's like I don't care who, like if Elon finds dirt on Trump, I want him to put it out there.
yeah.
You know what I
No,
mean?
me too. Yeah.
I don't care who he finds. Like we need to know every single thing. If there's corruption
Anywhere.
in the anywhere, just you
Mm-hmm.
got to find it. You got to
Yeah.
get rid of it. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter who's in there.
But the people that are protesting that, man, it's crazy. It's like
Right? How
it's like
dare you expose fraud? Like what?
Right?
yeah, like why would you be against it and like calling him a Nazi? And it's like, dude, all he's doing is finding corruption and finding mismanagement of money. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, why are you against it? It's your money that you worked hard for that the
Mm-hmm.
government took from you,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
and it's going
So.
to shit that you don't support. So
Mm-hmm.
why are you against that? Like what's the issue here? But my thing with Trump, like I said, I had a couple issues with the way he's doing things, but there has been a lot of things that he has been like rock solid on that he made promises of and he's kept. Like the
JFK
uh
files.
yeah, the JFK files. I actually started
Who's behind that?
I was reading those for a while. I got a few hundred pages deep into it. But also the women are men competing in women's sports.
Yeah,
Uh,
Mm.
the two genders. He did the thing
Mm-hmm.
about two genders, and a lot of people are losing their shit because like their passports became invalid because they had an X on their passport. Like people were
Oh
losing their
yeah,
shit
he
over
made it
that.
like a felony or something to like lie to a government agency about your gender, right?
Yeah,
I think
and
that was in Texas too. Hold on, let me.
yeah, yeah, and people like had like X's on their passport, and now they're like invalid or something, or they have to get them renewed, and people lost their shit over that, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I
Texas
fucking
bill
loved
would
it.
make identifying as transgender a felony, punishable by jail. Isn't that wild, dude? It's called gender identity fraud.
Yeah, I fucking
No-
do. I was all for
It,
that shit, man.
yeah,
But there's
knowingly makes a false or misleading verbal or written statement by identifying their sex assigned at birth incorrectly to a government entity or their employer. State jail felonies in Texas are punishable by up to 2 years in jail and a fine of up to $10,000.
yeah.
That's a
So
lot of money.
yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of things I support what he's been doing on, and more so than not. Uh, but like you guys said, there's something off about it to where
Mhm.
he's rushing certain things and kind of taking his time on others. The tariff should have been hit until we got our income tax lowered.
Exactly.
Mhm.
That should have been number one. It should have kind of came in as I used to, like I said, I used to work offshore, right? And one of the rules we always had for the field I was in is give before you take, right? You never want to cut something off before you give.
Mhm.
Um, you want to make sure there's an equal flow. So I think that they should have done it simultaneously, lower income tax, and at the same time introduce tariffs. That would have been the best for America. That would have been the best for the people that voted for him. Because like I said, right now we're getting hit double.
People are
Well,
just afraid to evaluate an idea based on the merit of the idea, right? It turns into everything's partisan. Like it doesn't matter. You could say a policy was proposed by the left, and if you tell someone that's left leaning that, they're going to support it no matter what, even if it was
Hmm.
a Trump proposal, and vice versa to the right. People have lost any ability to critically think. So it's just like, whatever my peer circle supports, I have to support that, and
Yeah,
it's
fuck
sad
that.
because like no one's
Think for
actually
yourself.
like exactly no one's thinking through the second, third term order effects of these decisions. They're just thinking like, oh well, my little sphere of people supports it, so obviously it must be right.
right.
Uh,
Yeah, we're
Hmm.
getting around the
think
oopsie
again.
time.
Yeah,
Oops.
I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna be next.
Mm.
Yeah, right?
I,
Yeah.
Well, it
I
seems
already
like it's
got oops.
jumping back between Austin, Dimitri, and Brandon. It's
Yeah.
Mhm.
like going back and forth.
I know it keeps kicking me out of the lobby here.
But
Mhm.
yeah,
But
man.
no, yeah,
Let's get into the conspiracy rabbit hole.
Mhm.
but no, I think you should be able to think for yourself. I think that's a big part of just growing mentally is being able to stray from the pack and say, listen, I don't believe this is right, but people are too afraid to do that now. It's like,
Well,
prime
because the
example.
social backlash is unreal. Like you
Yeah,
Yeah.
stray from your herd, and it's like, oh, you're just disowned right away.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, look at like abortion, right? Like if on both sides, if you're a Democrat and you're against abortion, you're a piece of shit. And
All right.
if you're conservative and you're for abortion, you're a crazy liberal. Either way, it's like you
Yeah.
you can't sit there and you have to go with the pack.
Yeah.
And that's with everything. You can't
And
sit there
the school
and
boards, remember?
yeah,
Hmm.
Remember the
you
school
can't.
boards that were scared to lose funding, so they allowed like the certain kinds of books and stuff, and like
Mhm.
different certain
Yeah.
types of teaching
Mhm.
Hmm.
curriculums in their classroom that the parents didn't agree with, but they
Yep.
Well,
just
when,
were like, okay, go ahead.
And it was voted by the parents like we don't
yeah.
want this in our schools, and they were like,
Yeah.
too bad. And that actually happened in Virginia, by the way, of all states.
Mhm.
You
When
know,
both parties campaign on extremes, like there's no such thing as moderates anymore, right? Like
yeah.
if you're a moderate, you don't belong to either party, so you don't stand a chance of passing policy. You don't stand a chance of being an elected official, and God forbid you just someone trying to get by and you're a moderate, like, oh, how dare you be a traitor to your party? Like,
So, real quick, speaking of schools, you know what I found out the other day? That Pennsylvania has a school tax, and it's basically attached to your home tax, like your property tax. And so you could sit there and not have a kid, or not even, or have a kid that's not in school, like you homeschool your kid, and the school can actually request a reassessment on the value of your home
I
because
think
they,
most states are like that actually. If you actually look at the itemized property tax on at least in Florida and Georgia,
Here in
there
Maryland.
is a district education tax on there.
I mean, I've never heard of Maryland, the schools being able to request a reassessment on the value of your home, so you pay more to
Well,
the in tax to that.
that's
Yeah, I
why.
mean that's pretty sketchy, but
Our that's why our property taxes went up. Is
Really?
because the state needs more money. Yeah, and I mean
Yeah.
how they
they ran ahead
divvy
of
out
other
the
people's money.
money. Yeah, exactly. How
Well,
they
no, I
divvy
get
out
how
the
they.
money,
No, this
right?
is like a set thing that you actually pay separately.
Mm.
It's not like I say attached to your property tax, but it's separate. It's just it comes out of like your escrow, but
Yeah,
Mm.
it's
yeah.
a completely separate thing for just school tax, and it's like $6,000 a year or something like that, depending on the value of your house.
Well, yeah,
And
Yeah,
yeah.
that's ridiculous.
So what
The
do you
same
end up
thing
paying
here.
more
yeah,
if you have no children in the public school system?
no, you just you pay the same as like
And you
if
got to
you had.
support the people that have 18 kids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but yet you have no say in how like that school is. You have no say in like how that school like is divvying out that money or anything. But yet they can come in and they could say, "Hey, we feel like your house is worth more money, so we're going to reassess you."
yeah. I
And
mean, it's the same
Oh, I
idea
thought you
here.
meant
It's
for
just
because your
not
kid.
blatantly said like this is part of the school. Like
yeah,
in PA, they probably have it just to make people feel better. It's like, oh, this is what's actually going to the schools. You see what I mean? Because
yeah,
in Maryland, your home property tax is supposed to go to schools
yeah,
and public service and all that crap. That's why they have it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But it's just not divvied out the same way. But
yeah,
Yeah, I mean
it's
$6,000 is absurd, but yeah, most states do have it itemized as a line on there.
yeah.
yeah.
If,
But
if,
no,
if you have it, if you have it all depends on like if you have a freaking huge mansion with a bunch of property, your property tax is going to be higher.
yeah. Well, they pay property tax and the school tax. Like,
I know what
Yeah.
you're saying, but we do the same thing. It's just not like itemized
yeah,
to us. You know what I mean? It's the
Hmm.
same thing. But
yeah,
PA has better schools than Maryland,
yeah,
a lot better schools.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of the reasons because they have more funding. And I mean, there's still people, with their hands in the cookie jar, but apparently more make it to the students than in Baltimore. Like the Baltimore
yeah.
County, I'm sorry, the Baltimore person that runs the education, her freaking salary is like almost $500,000, and like
And she doesn't do
Baltimore
And
shit.
Baltimore City kids can't even read when they graduate high school.
Yeah,
Can't
it's
do
wild.
Half the
math,
kids are
no one's
failing
right?
out.
graduating.
Yeah,
She
dude.
was
Yeah,
confronted about that too, and she had nothing to say.
Yeah.
By one of the students, one of the valedictorians graduated and said she couldn't read past an 8th grade level.
Yeah.
yeah,
And she's like,
Wow.
she sued the school district for pushing her through without any
Wow.
sufficient education.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, because
And
they
what?
just want people to pass. There's no
Is
Well, it
child
looks
left
good on a
behind,
slideshow, you know. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
our graduation rate is 96% or whatever.
and they're dumb as shit. I mean,
Is
Yeah.
I
that?
shouldn't be talking. I'm pretty stupid myself when I didn't do
You
all that
shouldn't.
great in school,
Yeah.
but I actually would have failed.
But you didn't.
But
But she
Exactly,
didn't.
but I did. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
Josh wanted to get into the conspiracy theories. What do you want to? I know the question you want to ask, Josh. What is?
Yeah. One question I always ask guests is Sasquatch. Is Bigfoot out there? Is he
Ooh,
real?
Sasquatch.
Or cryptids in general? But yes, Sasquatch being at the center of the question.
I don't know. I feel
Blink
like
twice.
by now someone would have shot one. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people with rifles in the woods, man.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
They're all the bad shots though. So
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
the,
right.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
With the
maybe
I don't
bad
know.
I've
cameras,
heard.
right?
Well, I've
Hit
heard
with
the
a real
lower
bad jab.
calibers are like they bounce off because they have like really dense muscles and like their muscle mass, and so the lower calibers just kind of bounce
Bro,
off.
if I shoot a man ape thing and it just looks at me wrong,
Mhm.
I'm not saying a word.
Yeah, right, right. But yeah, so just curious. There's I've heard actually some stories about. You probably heard the one about the giants in Kandahar that were
The
they
red
had to
haired
use
giants.
the sling load to carry the giants out.
Yeah, I've heard a
Bagram,
lot of
yeah,
the tall tales and stuff. I've never heard anybody in service corroborate it, but
yeah. Well, it's so
I
hush
do.
hush.
I've seen like the Smithsonian got caught covering up giant bones or whatever, like large humans who,
Hmm.
at least for the time, were abnormally large. Like we have people that large now, but they all have those growth deficiencies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Those
Yeah,
8 9 foot tall people or whatever that once in a generation. Apparently, Smithsonian got caught covering up a at least a subsect of people that were predominantly that height, and so I don't know what came of that, but
That's the
yeah.
methylene,
Like,
dude.
why cover that up though? Like, if there was a group of people that were just large,
they're pretty sketchy about a lot of stuff. Have you seen what is his name, John Reeves, or the guy that owns the Boneyard in Alaska?
John Reeves is.
I think that's
No.
his name. I might be wrong. You can look up Alaska Boneyard and it'll come up. They Texas A&H and the Smithsonian stole like tons, like literal tons, thousands of pounds of his mammoth and prehistoric megafauna bones, and
Mm.
then they said they were going to study them and send it back to him after with the results and whatnot. Never gave them back. Claimed they never received them. Dumped them in the river. Got caught dumping them in a river. Like they
He
cover
should
up a
have got.
lot.
He should have got a hand receipt, man.
Yeah, he did, and he's in litigation with them, I guess. But I don't know. It's pretty sketchy what they do.
Yeah, seriously, man.
Because
Yeah,
they
I've
said
heard
a
that
lot of these
too.
species weren't supposed to be in North America back then. At the time they were carbon dated too, and
Yeah.
I guess they don't want to rewrite the textbooks. They just dump the bones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they just, that's what happens. They just keep rewriting shit. Like, so my youngest son loves dinosaurs. Apparently, there's like 1,000 more dinosaurs available now than when we were growing up. I'm like,
yeah. I'm seeing
where
all
are
these
all these
new
things come
names,
from?
man.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, what? Like,
And they had feathers too, right?
yeah,
Now they
yeah,
all have
that's the
feathers.
I
new
saw
thing.
that.
Now they're saying velociraptors had fucking feathers
It's a
and
terrifying
wings,
chicken head
and then yeah, exactly. And then also T Rexes, they're saying that they had feathers. That those little
Yeah.
were wings. Why the
or
fuck did
wings.
they have first of all, why did he have those little hands? Now you're telling me those little hands are freaking wings?
Mhm.
Like,
Dude. Have you heard the recreated sound of what a T-Rex actually sounded like, just based off of its like vocal like chords and like
yeah, but they can't
throat?
find the vocal cords. Like
Not
that didn't
not
get
vocal cords,
fossilized. You know what I'm
but
saying?
not the vocal cords, but like the bone structure.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's how
I
they
haven't seen
figured.
it.
Yeah.
I was
It
actually
sounds
Can
talking
you
really
with
play it,
cool,
someone
Josh?
about.
man.
I was actually talking with someone about this the other day, and he's
I
like,
will play it
"How
for
the?"
you.
He was like, "How the fuck do they know what they sound like? For all we know, a T Rex would have mooed, and a Velociraptor would have meowed. Like, how the fuck do they
Yeah.
know this shit?" Because we were talking about. Actually, it was after I got off the phone with you, Josh. We were talking about how there's a lot of Christians that actually don't believe in dinosaurs because um, of the dates of when dinosaurs existed, and I didn't know this. He told me there's actually apparently a large population of Christians that don't believe dinosaurs are real
Yeah,
Mhm.
because of the fact that dinosaurs lived X amount of years
yeah,
ago, and
millions.
yeah, and the Bible says uh, that
Six
the Earth
thousand
is
years old.
yeah, and so he was going into his theory behind it, but then that's when we got to the whole how do we know what the fuck they sounded like?
Well, I don't think it
It's
outright says that the Earth is 6,000 years old. I think people are just calculating based off
yeah,
of like the
The
different genealogy.
genealogies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah,
And so there's an interesting theory about how between like the first 3 verses in Genesis, what they call the gap theory, where millions of years had passed between like
Mhm.
the days God created the earth, and
Mm.
so after the animals were created, it was just like, okay, so many million years. I don't know. There's really a lot in there, and so it's either that, and the other section of people believe that God built or God made the earth like he already made it with an inbuilt age of, you know, whatever, 50
Yeah.
million years or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah.
That's what we were talking about because it's the like God created the earth in 7 days. Well, 7 days for him looks different
Hmm.
than on for us,
Yeah.
and it's basically it's that it was that whole theory, and
Yeah.
so yeah, that's where he got that he believes dinosaurs are real
Yeah.
because one day, who's to say how long that one day was to him would have
Hmm.
been to us.
Yeah. And there's
Well,
different scriptures
if
about Leviathan and the behemoth and stuff like that.
yeah.
But, you know,
Well, yeah, the word dinosaur was coined in 1841 apparently, and prior to that, they were just called dragons, which is what the Bible describes. So, like,
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
people saying like
Dude,
dinosaurs don't exist when it's probably more associated with scripture than not.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also every culture has a version of dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's like every single culture that there's a dragon version of it, and then
Hmm.
also every single culture has some kind of flood
Hmm.
that
yeah,
happened
that's the
at
big one,
some
right?
point.
Is the
You know what I
flood
Cataclysm. Yeah.
mean?
story? Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's like, and another cool thing, my wife sent me some NASA scientists went back and like tracked when an eclipse would have happened, and
Hmm.
it happened. So when Christ got crucified, Matthew says that it
Oh,
went
I've
dark.
seen this.
the
Yeah.
skies went dark. Yeah,
Yeah, and they went back, and I think it was like April. Josh, quote, don't look it up. The actual day was like April something when he was crucified. It was like April 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. Well,
Um,
anyway, they went back to see when an eclipse would
yeah.
actually happen, and at that exact same time, there was an
April
eclipse that
3rd.
happened.
April 3rd of 33 AD.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's funny that that used to be like the gotcha that hardcore atheists would go after the Bible with was like, oh
Yeah.
well, there was no projected eclipse during that time period, so like
Mm.
obviously it's false. But then they found uh, both Aramaic and some kind of South Asian writings that talked about the sky going dark
Hmm.
Mhm.
before scripture was ever like widely publicized. So like there was corroboration across countries
Yeah.
about some kind of eclipse or something. So
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes me curious about when Moses was when all the plagues were happening in Egypt, if
Mm.
there was it said darkness fell over Egypt specifically, so
Hmm.
I wonder like if that was just, I don't know, maybe it was eclipse, maybe it wasn't, probably something different, um yeah, just to go back in time and kind of see those other events, because in in other scriptures, Joshua, remember when the sun went backwards, and then the sun, like a sun stood still. There's like a couple different passages
Yeah.
about the sun like
mhm.
acting abnormally,
Hmm.
and um, and them tracking it. Uh, like based off of where the positions of the planets and the stars are now, doesn't it doesn't line up unless you factor in the fact that the sun had stood still or went backwards or something like
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude,
So,
I love finding those things that prove biblical truths, man. They're
Hey,
so awesome.
speaking of Josh, speaking of the crucifixion and everything, I just found this out. So, have you ever heard of Saint Longinus? Longinus?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Longinus. Is he a Catholic?
Yeah. So he was actually the
Oh yeah, I think.
soldier. He was actually the soldier that speared Jesus in the
Oh
ribs.
yeah, yeah,
And
Mm.
have you guys ever heard this?
yeah.
So
I heard something about him.
so he was the soldier, the Roman soldier that speared Jesus in the ribs, right? And when Jesus bled, it had got like water and blood. It got actually in
Yeah.
his eyes, and he
Mm-hmm.
had bad eyesight. Right. Well, when it got into his eyes, it actually healed him, and so after that, he basically devoted himself
Mm-hmm.
to preaching the gospel, and the Romans were like pissed off about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they said, "You need to stop doing this," and he's like, "No, Jesus and God are the God's the true King,"
Mm.
And so they were like, "Okay, well, he healed your eyes, so we're gonna take your eyes."
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then he kept doing it. So then they took his tongue,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was still able to talk and continue to preach. So then they were like, "We're just gonna fucking kill you now." And I can't remember the whole story, but I think he like took a sword, and again they took his eyes so he can't see, and they took a sword. He took a sword and like cut the head off of one of their god statues,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, they basically ended up like cutting his head off and shit. But yeah, he became a saint.
Mm.
The soldier that stabbed Jesus on the cross became a
Mm.
saint. So what do you think of that, Josh? Have you ever heard of that?
I never heard of it, but when it comes to the term saint, I think that's just the title that
Well,
they're
yeah, the Catholics,
The
yeah.
Roman Catholic Church, yeah.
Yeah, it is found in the Bible, but yeah, what they mean, I think, is they call them like uh, something more like apostles. But
yeah,
that guy wasn't actually Jewish; like he was fully Roman, and
yeah,
Paul was half and half, but he was born Jewish.
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so
Well,
that's pretty cool, man. I'd like to look more into that.
yeah.
What is it?
It's long.
Longinus?
Yeah, Longinus. Longinus.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just a crazy story. No, I know what you mean by like the whole. That's just what
Hmm.
looking him up. That's what you're gonna find if you look up Saint. But I get what you're saying about that. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I thought that was crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. There was a.
Lee Strobel, the guy that wrote the book A Case for Christ, he was talking about how, like, until the 20th century, there was no medical diagnoses for whatever the condition is called, where you build up water in the lungs, so you'll pour out blood and water or a watery substance.
Mm-hmm.
So like the fact that the Bible had written that in way before any medical diagnoses of that condition was around, like, was pretty substantial.
Yeah.
Yeah, because during crucifixion, your lungs would fill up with blood, and not with
Yeah,
blood,
and then
with
like
water
sweating blood
too.
when he was being flogged. That was another medical diagnosis that didn't exist back then.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. I love finding them, dude.
There was this pretty interesting thing I was talking with my brother about, and he was saying that there was like just a little correlation to had something to do with that. I forget specifically, but it had something to do with the water from Jesus's side and how they sacrificed animals at the temple and how they drained like into a river or something like that. But he talked about how when uh, so that the Christianity 101, Jesus came as a replacement for the sacrifices
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
sent by his father, right?
Yeah.
Abraham, this is thousands of years before, Abraham goes to sacrifice his son, and what does he
Mm.
find? A ram with his head
Hmm.
caught in a bush of thorns, which Jesus also had a crown of thorns, and the ram was there to replace Abraham's son. So I never really thought about it like that, but it was a cool
Yeah.
way to like kind of link like the it's like the you guys know what I'm saying, but yeah.
Yeah.
The correspondent.
Yeah. Uh the other thing that I've been seeing a lot of is this new guy who's on the scene for in the religion of Islam. They're calling him the Mahdi, and he's
Yeah. Me and you
supposed
were
to be
talking
like
about it. Yeah.
the prophetic like incarnation, like the next the next
Like successor.
yeah, he's like a successor of Muhammad, Jesus, and all that. And I don't know. You guys know? Have you guys looked at him or seen him or
Yeah. You sent me
any
those
thoughts?
videos. Yeah. I was looking into
Yeah, I
them.
know you did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah,
your
no, I
video.
saw thumbnails about it, but I didn't watch
yeah,
any actual content from it.
He
Well,
claims that Jesus and Muhammad were brothers, and
Oh boy.
that's funny. Yeah.
I think he was saying like they were equals, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, he did say that Jesus was the Messiah, which is odd
Yeah,
because if he's obviously a
Islamic.
Muslim, but he's
Yeah,
like this guy actually started his own religion, and it's like a unification of Catholicism, Christianity, and Islam, and they've raised like tens of millions of dollars already. Like the dude's a millionaire, and
said he wasn't the Antichrist though.
yeah, he like the
He was
first thing
like,
he does is like
That's what the Antichrist
enunciate.
would say.
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I said. Yeah, when me and Josh were on the phone talking about it, and I was like, yeah, but if I was the Antichrist, I wouldn't go around saying I'm the Antichrist. I would adamantly deny it. You
Trust
know?
me, bro. I'm not the Antichrist.
Yeah, trust me, bro.
Even though I'm doing antichrist things.
Yeah,
But you know, look, he's gaining a lot of traction, and this is
yeah.
this is basically what he looks like. He's got. I'll just play this little clip for you.
I am Abdullah, the first name mentioned of the Mahdis, and I have come forth as the successor of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam and the awaited Yemeni Imam Ahmad al-Hassan alayhi salam. No one in 1400 years has claimed to be Abdullah in the will but me, proving that the will truly is a protection against misguidance, for none can claim to be in the will except for its rightful owner.
Yeah. So, and he's got this huge following, and you know, on top of that, with the Pope passing, everybody's just kind of like on the edge of their seat when it comes to like prophecy and like end time stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, who knows?
So wait, by his logic,
Yeah.
I can publicly claim myself as the Messiah, and now I am the Messiah.
That's pretty much what I heard, huh?
Yeah. So like, because
No one in 1400 years.
yeah, so that's
Oh, no one
basically what he
except every
said.
cult leader ever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's
There's a
all.
whole Mormon. You know
Yeah.
what I
Right.
mean? What
Well,
happened with the Mormons?
well, Joseph Smith wasn't a Messiah. He was just the only
Prophet.
person that could see tablets and
Just a
talk to God.
14-year-old con artist who can give you your own planet. You know.
Yeah,
Bro.
yeah. Dude, that planet is going to be lit though.
You guys remember that cult where where the group all bought those Nike tracksuits and or shoes or whatever, and they
Mhm.
all it
Drink
was
the
like
Kool Aid.
Hale Bop or no, Haley's Comet religion.
Yeah.
They all like, yeah,
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking
Wasn't that
about.
the one where they drank the Kool Aid
I
and
think
like
so.
yeah,
But
like
they
they
all bought the
actually
same Nikes and everything, and they were like praying and doing rituals and
yeah, I
stuff.
think they're the ones where the term "don't drink the Kool Aid" came from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Comet.
Yeah.
Hey guys, real quick since we're on this topic,
Yeah.
not of Antichrist, by the way,
The
of
Kool-Aid.
you know what I mean. But my dad prayed for the first time ever in his life the other day.
Wow.
Now it was to Buddha, okay? It was to Buddha. I'm gonna try to guide him in the right direction, but that's a big first step because he's
Right.
never ever prayed in his life ever.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
Wow.
now I got a little seed, and I try to plant it in there today. I'm like, yeah, try it again. You know what I mean? Except like, maybe not to the fat guy.
Yeah.
Why to Buddha?
Well, he was in Japan.
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah, he was in Japan, and I was there too. They have like this huge statue of Buddha, and it's like a big temple and all that stuff. They have like this fire with like this mystical wood that's supposed to like heal and all that stuff. So people go there and like bat the. If you go back on my Instagram, like I don't even know, like 10 years ago at this point, I have like a video of like me making fun of it going, oh yeah. No, but I mean
Yeah.
that's a big first step for him, and just
Yeah,
pray
man.
for him that he
That's
finds the right
awesome, man.
direction.
Absolutely.
That's
Dude,
awesome.
right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep that in prayer, man. That's
Heck
crazy.
yeah.
It's like, like the last thing you'd expect, but
My dad's a atheist, dude. Like Brandon, like these guys know. My dad is a straight up atheist. he like me and him will sit down and it's like we're just trying to convince each other. And I'm like, Jesus is real. You should believe in him.
Yeah.
He's like, no. But the good thing is he's gotten a lot more respectable when we have conversations. And what the last one that I had with him was he was telling me that there was some wind that happened when Moses parted the sea.
Mm-hmm.
So I used ChatGPT and asked, like, they're very, it's a very specific, thing. It's like how much water did it move? I was like, let's say it's a half mile. It was 8 feet deep. What's the wind gust that it would be to move that water? So the wind would have to blow 35 miles per hour to just make the waves
Mm-hmm.
like pretty noticeable on there. You know what I mean? I was like, now imagine how much wind would have to come to move that water this way, and then a crosswind would have to come this way to move the other side to make a pathway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
To make a
Well, they found
pathway.
petrified chariot remains
Yeah.
in the Red Sea. Did you
Yeah.
see that?
Yeah, man.
That was kind
Yeah,
of
dude.
wild.
Yep.
And it didn't say like a strong wind. It like blew all night, I believe. And then the other one was, I think, when they moved the Ark of the Covenant, and they it was like another one of those parting of the seas. Let me see if I can find it. That one's cool too, man. I don't know if you guys have looked into the Ark stuff about it being found in like
The Catholics have it.
80s and 90s. There's a bunch
What,
of
by that one
conspiracies,
dude?
but there's a FBI. Yeah. What's his name? Man, I
That
forgot.
he found
Yeah.
that it had Jesus's blood on it.
Yeah.
And
So
he had
that one
half the
was pretty
chromosomes.
wild.
Yeah.
But the other one, okay, so the FBI had released declassified documents about this like thing called remote viewing, where people are able to like essentially leave their bodies,
Hmm.
astral projection, and they're able to see things like all over the world, wherever. And so they were able to go to the actual location of the Ark of the Covenant, where it is still being guarded. But the way the person described it was that it was being guarded by like these like large entities that were like not human, but they had the appearance of kind of like a human, but they were like they were huge.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah, the
Josh.
remote viewing stuff is cool too.
They were
The
huge.
CIA documents they got declassified since the 70s and Project Stargate and all that stuff. They were using remote viewers.
The Stargate one was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my oldest son, he's on the spectrum, and I was listening to telepathy tapes, right? And they interviewed all these families that were saying that their autistic child could read their minds, and they did a bunch of tests and all that stuff. But the coolest one was there was one autistic kid that lived in Houston. Don't quote me on the actual places where these kids were, but let's say he was in Houston, and he said he had a best friend, and his parents were like, "What are you talking about? We don't even know a person of this name, right?" Well, through this interviewing for this podcast, the telepathy tapes, these two kids ended up meeting, and when they met, it was like they were best friends. And then guess each parent said my child said they had a best friend, and it ended up being these two kids, and they lived like hundreds and hundreds of miles apart.
Wow.
And they were talking about how they
Excuse
all meet up on this place called the Hill.
me.
They
Yeah, I
like
saw that.
and they could talk to each other and everything. That was really cool.
That is, man. I also wanted to point out in the book of Joshua, when they do cross the Jordan River, it says that the water from upstream stopped flowing. It piled up in a heap a great distance away.
Mm.
Um, and So kind of like that. You've probably seen the uh, what's that movie, The Prince of Egypt, where the water splits in half and it's kind of just like a little
Mm-hmm.
mound, like a wall or whatever. So that's kind of how I imagined it. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's like you said, the chariots under the water. They just so happened to cross the Red Sea at a point where it was like shallow,
Mm.
and
Hmm.
there's just a lot of historical evidence. So even if you have an atheist who doesn't necessarily want to believe the religion, the historical evidence is there,
Yep.
and so that's nothing to you know to shy away from. It's like even if you don't believe it, in the religious side,
Mm.
the principles and teachings are a way to live like morally upright, and.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so, uh, this guy on Instagram, his whole thing is to just post like videos about like getting mad at Christians and saying this isn't real. The Bible never happened. Like that's his whole persona that's the center of his whole social media.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's more evidence that Jesus existed, performed miracles, and died and resurrected than there is that you exist. You know what I mean? I was just like, there's thousands of, So anyway, uh,
Well,
yeah,
here's the thing, right? You never have people getting mad at Buddhist for being Buddhist. You never
Exactly.
have people getting mad at Muslims for being Muslim. You never you only have people getting mad. You have people that don't like Muslims or don't like
There we
Buddhists.
go.
Okay, but you don't have them getting mad at Muslims for being like just because
They're not
they're
mad at Allah, right? They're
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You don't have
people
people
that
mad at Buddhists because they believe in Buddha.
people
It
that claim not to believe in God sure do have a lot of hate for him. It's weird.
Right.
Yeah, but
yep,
yeah,
yep, yep.
and then I think me and you were talking about it, Josh, to where you don't have people claiming to be Buddha. You don't have people claiming to be Muhammad. You don't have people
Muhammad.
claiming. Yeah, you gotta hit the
You had to put the flair on it, man.
yeah, Muhammad. Yeah,
Muhammad.
yeah. You don't have people claiming to like you have people. You have tons of people claiming to be Jesus.
Hmm.
You have tons of people claiming to be the Messiah. Like it's, but you don't have people claiming to be Buddha. And the thing for me is we could actually find out and know where Muhammad, that flare again, is
Muhammad.
buried, where Buddha is buried. Where all these people are buried, right? Where's Jesus? Where's his body at? You
Yeah,
know, where is he?
yeah. That's
It's
the. Sorry, were you finished?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's another thing I was curious about. And you guys have any thoughts on that Shroud of Turin?
Yeah, did you see the new analysis that came back from it?
I did not.
Yeah,
It's
But
it's
yeah,
pretty
do
cool. It's
tell.
in the past, I don't know, 8 months, 12 months, whatever. Um, so there was quite a few things from it, but off the top of my head, the biggest thing was that the method of imprinting that was on there, they can't figure out how it was done. They said the amount of energy it would take would be like essentially, like when
Mhm.
we dropped nukes in Japan and it left
Hmm.
these permanent shadows in the wall. That's essentially
Oh,
what happened on the shroud. So they said like the amount of heat generation required to imprint in that method should have destroyed the cloth,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So it
Hmm.
doesn't make sense that it's intact with that method of imprint, and it's only on the top layer of fiber on each side. It's not on the middle fibers, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not dye, it's not ink.
and here's the thing, right? There was a
Wow.
ton of people that saw that, and people that had seen Jesus in their dreams, to where they had real encounters
The
with
near death
Jesus.
experiences, yeah.
Yeah, they said that is him.
Hmm.
There was no question. They were like, that is him. And I saw it and I got goosebumps.
Hmm.
I saw it and it actually physically gave me goosebumps. And I didn't even hear that part about people being like, oh, that's Jesus, right? I just saw it and just it gave me goosebumps. So
Well,
it's just
they did like tests back in the day to like date it, and
And they took it off a patch.
Yeah, off a patch
Patch.
that was made.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. They
yeah.
took it off a patch, and then they were also saying that it was like all the areas where people had touched it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So that sways. Well, the carbon dating is not very accurate. Like they
Yeah,
could carbon date a stone, and they could get like millions of years difference each time they do it. So
yeah,
yeah. So the cool thing is they used AI for the description from the Shrouded Turret, and I don't know if they uploaded images from it and they created like a real life Jesus through AI. It's pretty cool.
Well,
Yeah.
the
That's
other
what
thing
gave
was
me
that the
chills.
features on the shroud were like 3-dimensional, right? So like if someone
Yeah.
were to paint on there, it's not like someone painted a 2D image. The way the image conforms to the cloth was as if it was like draped over
Hmm.
a body. It's not. It doesn't look uniform when you just lay it out flat. You know.
And you
Yeah.
draw on it. Yep.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know that
yeah.
new analysis that came out. I definitely advocate everyone look it up because it's pretty cool. I mean,
Okay.
I think it's
Yeah.
hard to dismiss it.
Have you guys heard of the first hymn? I told Josh about this the other day. Have you guys heard of the first hymn?
Mm-mm.
First Tim.
Hymn.
Yeah.
Him. Okay.
HYM or HIM?
HYM.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
yeah,
So not
like
Adam.
worship. Yeah. No, like the first hymn. So they found
That's real quick.
a I told Josh about this, right? They found a sliver of music in Egypt a while ago, right? And they were tracing it back to like I don't quote me on the date, but it was like back in BC time, you know.
Hmm.
I don't know the exact date, but it was a while ago. And it's the first known sheet of or actual like worship music to God.
Hmm.
And they recreated the song because it's also the first one they found with musical notations on it.
Hmm.
So it actually has musical notation. So they were able to recreate the song.
That's cool.
And yeah, and so it's like basically we have a look back into what worship music would have been like somewhat to an extent. Like obviously they're putting their own little flair on it, but to some extent from back in Egypt, you know, in whatever BC.
More validity than the T-Rex sound.
Yeah. It's probably what T-Rex has sounded like, you know, for all we know.
Dang, Josh never played it though.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with they meowed,
Oh
honestly.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah. Because I just think that's badass.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, you guys should look that up. The first hymn.
mm, well, let's end this thing. It's almost 2, and I gotta wake up and go shoot tomorrow.
And
Oh yeah,
apparently,
have
I
fun with
gotta
the
wake
match.
up.
Yeah. So,
Apparently, I gotta wake up and film him shoot tomorrow.
man, we're going there so we can advertise this.
There
Yeah,
we
In
go.
Annapolis, right?
Yeah.
yeah. Are you gonna
Yep.
be awake tomorrow, Rob?
Probably why.
You want me to drop off that hockey tape?
Yeah, you can.
All right.
Ooh, can I get some?
Yeah. You want? But
Mm.
can we stop by his house and drop off that hockey tape on the
Yeah,
way?
yeah, of course.
I'll give you a roll too.
You
Okay.
shooting
Fucking with you. You
carry
don't
optics
need
or production,
Carry.
Gary?
Yep. I mean, I just have a red dot on mine, so
Yeah, you'll be good.
yeah. I don't have anything fancy. Can't afford it.
I
I
don't
No,
mean,
know.
that's all you need.
yeah. Yeah.
I,
I mean, so
how do you feel about red dots? Do you shoot red dots?
No, just a couple of them.
Mm.
Yeah. You just
You
don't.
had them on every
right?
shoulders.
Well, I mean, like
Yeah,
in
no,
competition, like in
I do.
competition.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So all the divisions I made GM in are dot divisions.
Okay.
I haven't really dabbled in irons divisions other than like my first few months in the sport.
Mm.
And then I saw everyone going fast to the dot. I was like, oh yeah, let's try that.
Yeah.
And you'll never go back.
And then I
I
bought a
got.
dot and realized how much harder it was at first. I'm like, oh man, this is not as easy as these guys made it look.
Yeah. I got that astigmatism.
Yeah, yeah, I do too, to an extent, but
Yeah.
some dots are worse than others. I mean, the Trigicons are pretty nice. I have a crisp dot with those, even with astigmatism. The delta points give me problems, so if you have astigmatism, maybe avoid
Yeah.
those.
I found one from Gideon that was really good that I was able to see out of, but like Dimitri's, I can't see shit with it. Like
Really, you just see the starburst, the
yeah, the
bloom.
star.
Yeah.
One of them I see two, and they're both stars.
Mm.
So yeah,
Well,
I
try them out now. Next time we go shoot, just try them out because I turned down the brightness on them,
mhm.
so that's gonna help out a lot. Because it started doing the same thing for me. Like the dot looked a lot bigger than it actually is.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, it wasn't even just like it looked bigger, but it's just the star. Like it was just like a star and everything, and I couldn't do it. Like I said, I was at a gun show and I went to the Gideon optics table,
Mm.
and every single one I was trying, it was just like star. I tried red, I tried green, and but then I found one. I actually took a picture of it. I'll have to find it. But there was one that I saw that it was actually pretty good. Um, and so if I do ever end up getting a red dot, which I don't think I will, just because I want to get very proficient in irons before I ever even try to do a dot. Um, I want to get really good at that before I kind of go into there. But it's the RK50RD from Gideon, or yeah, the RK50RD. That's the only one that out of all of them, that's the only one that actually like looked good to me.
Yeah, you definitely got to go fondle a few and see which ones look crisp to your eye because there's a lot that look like blobs to me.
Hmm.
Mm. Hey Josh, before we end this, can you
Yo.
play the T-Rex sound?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Please be a meow. Please be a meow.
Bro, it's far from it. So
Can it be like
actually,
a uwu?
Mhm.
they actually, so when they were looking at dinosaurs, they were thinking like, uh, people, they associate the dinosaurs with, birds. Even, Jurassic Park kind of got into that idea about how modern day birds have evolved from dinosaurs,
Mm.
crocodiles, chickens. They kind of like. So anyway,
Delicious.
um, they they kind of combined all of these sound effects to make uh, what they
T-Rex.
believe a T-Rex sounds like. Yes.
All right, so it's
So,
going.
all right. So here is the sound of a T-Rex, allegedly. Where is it? How a T-Rex actually sounds. Here we go. It's creepy, man. Imagine walking through the woods and hearing this.
If this is a Rickroll, I'm going to be pissed.
What you do is actually much scarier than what you hear in the movies. What's even crazier, besides me, is that you would feel the sound in your bones. Imagine walking through the forest and hearing this sound.
Hey, there you go.
Sound like a whale.
That's demon right there, homie.
You've been
Mine kind of sounds
Weird, right?
like elk too.
Whoever said moo was pretty close.
Crocodile. Like, yeah, it's kind
Elk
of
and a
mixed.
whale.
So, there you go, man.
It
All
hit
right,
the
Brandon.
uwu.
Tell everybody where they can find you, and yeah.
You have
Yeah.
any sponsors too?
What's that?
You have any sponsors you would like to say?
Yeah. Everyone, if you're in the market, feel free to patron Zeroed Ammunition. I have a discount code on my profile. You guys are more than welcome to use. Timber Firearms. I am shooting these for the rest of the season. These 2011s here. They have really remedied their reputation with their less than stellar QC with some of their old 1911s. These things are pretty dope. So if you're in the 2011 market, definitely go check them out. Titan Performance, if you're looking for any training plans or supplements or whatever. One of the best personal trainers out there. Dude's a stud. He's like 240 and runs a 5-something mile. Absolute animal. And shootersconnection.com. They will get you hooked up with any competition gear you might need: belts, mag carriers, holsters, iPro, Ear Pro, targets, whatever. They've got it all. 2-day shipping. So picturing those guys. You can find me on Instagram at Brandon_Alvarez1102. If you want to get in touch with me for classes or training or whatever, you can email me at training@projectbrokenarrow.com. If you guys message me on social media, I'll get back to you at some point. It's just might be a day or two, so email is definitely the fastest. So, yeah, aside from that, I appreciate you guys having me on. We definitely went down some rabbit holes. It was fun.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
That's what I told
that.
you, dude.
I like that email.
We can start about shooting and then just go where it goes. And
That's
the
right.
one thing that we're finding out through this podcast, a lot of shooters are Christian.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
God, guns, and country.
yep.
So
should
we're
be.
gonna I'm gonna add all of your sponsors. I'm gonna go ahead and add them to the descriptions and stuff, so everybody can go check them out. But yeah, Brandon, thank you again.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
really appreciate
No,
you.
absolutely appreciate you guys.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah. What's up?
Yep, have a good one.
All right, y'all. God bless.
God bless.
Last on the trigger tonight.
Have fun with the match tomorrow. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, brother.
Did you stop it or did I stop it?
No, I stopped it.
Oh, okay.
Everybody was still
got a
talking.
little bit happy.
No, that was an accident, actually. All right.
All right,
gents.
Brandon, have a good
Have a
night.
good one.
Okay, bye.
Good night.